Good morning and welcome to the day 2 of our district leadership training. It's Beth Bolhofer here. The whole team is on. We have an amazing packed agenda. I am very excited about it. So a few things I wanted to talk about is, why are we doing all this training, right? What is this all about? I mean, this is a whole, I think it's like 6 hours or something of training that we're doing. But why? The reason why is because we have to be ready for our jobs. We were just chatting, I probably a bunch of people who heard it, but as a leader, we have to be ready for anything. We have to be agile. We have to have the skills. So we're going to get you prepped so that you have a fighting chance as you go into the field this year. And I am just so excited about our team because we're here to help you. And I'm trying to get as many people's voices on stage today so we can hear from a lot of different areas. We're going to have time for questions. This is not going to be a boring lecture. So if you're planning to sit back and just relax, you need to get back. You need to get up on the edge of your seat because we're going to have a really, really fun, exciting day today. So just as a recap of our agenda, I'm going to do a welcome, which I've just done. And then our immediate past, actually, he's really our current district director, Kevin Markle, is coming back, bam, to explain what is this district all about? What is this org structure? Why are we all here? How do we fit in? And then the bigger mystery is like, how do we fit into the bigger picture, international, right? I remember like our journey as we get in our clubs and we're just like, oh my gosh, there's all these things going on in the club. Like, how does this agenda work? And then we're like, oh, there's officers. And then like, oh, you get more and more enlightenment. So Kevin's going to bring that bigger picture to us this morning. And then area director, like what are we supposed to even do? Like, what is it that we're supposed to be doing? Lisa is going to go into that and also talk about what makes a good area director. We're going to have a break. Yay. And then George's going to talk about how do we measure success? Everyone's very goal oriented here. And so what are the KPIs or key performance indicators that we're looking for? I'm going to have a really fun session on building a team because, as I mentioned, it's with grace. And grace means we have a team. There's people there to help us. Ed's got an overview of the calendar. We'll have another break, and then we'll plan for the year. Julie will wrap it up with getting support and final questions. So that's the agenda for today. We're a little bit early, so Kevin, maybe you can have an extra few minutes to ask questions. So Kevin, I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen, Kevin. So just let me know when you want to go to the next slide. So let me welcome our immediate past and current district director, Kevin Markle. We can't hear you, Kevin.
That's because I'm not talking yet.
Okay.
I'm not muted. I'm just not saying anything yet. Hold on a second here. While I find a button. Well, I think this will work.
And just for the video quality, because we are sharing this with anyone who couldn't make it, if everyone can just turn off their video and go on mute, and then that way we'll have like a nice clean video for posterity.
All right. What would you do if you had to do this on your own? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, we get by with a little help from our friends. We do well with little help from our friends. Gonna get distinguished with little help from our friends. All right, good morning, everyone. I thought we had to pump it up a little bit since I was the very first one in the morning. Next slide, please. I want to share not just what's happening at the district level and above. I wanted to share a little bit how the people at the district level and above can help. because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you and your members and our guests and our officers find our voice and make a difference. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the who's who as we go through this presentation, but I'm going to be focusing more on kind of the chairs, the district, the regions, the board of directors, and above. Because I think you already know, or you're going to learn a little bit more, next slide, about really what your role is and what you're going to be doing as an area director and division director. And there's a lot of you. There's a lot of you. We've got 9 division directors. We've got 35 area directors stretched all the way from Oregon at the top of the district down through the North Bay, swinging around the East Bay down to Fremont. So a ton of you, and I know you all had a chance to introduce yourselves yesterday, so I think you're starting to get size and scope, right? But we're talking 151 clubs in all of these 35 areas, all right? More than 3,000 members in 151 clubs, all right? And that's just our district. Our district is one of 8 in Region 1. And in Region 1, that's just one of 14 regions around the world, making up more than 16,000 clubs and 360,000 members. All right, it is a huge organization, and we're going to dive in to talk a little bit first, kind of at the district level, and then we're going to pop up and kind of work our way down. Slide, please. That map is going to be updated and available on the district website shortly. So I wanted to talk about a couple of people on the executive team, right? So we'll talk about the trio, but I wanted to talk about the executive team. Why do they matter? How are they going to help you? All right, so we've got Linda, our finance manager, who is going to be doing a ton of reimbursements, and I hear exciting approaches and ways of doing that. But reimbursements are going to be a huge help because, believe it or not, the district has more than $100,000 in revenue that comes in, and we try to spend more than $150,000 in a year. How do we pay all these people who want reimbursements for open houses and awards and when we run events? Linda has a huge role that she's going to be playing this year. So anything finance, reimbursements, what's going on with the budget, what are the incentives? Linda is your go-to. I love how Ed talked about how a president had no idea what our website even was. There's always room to grow. And it's not just the website, it's also Meetup. We have a Meetup that is free this year for many of our clubs, and it's being underutilized. And so I know Ed and his team is going to be working likely on how do we improve the use of Meetup to accomplish our goals. I'm going to skip admin manager, and admin manager is like your sergeant at arms and secretary, and it is an open role, and when it's filled, I'll be happy to come back and tell you more about it. And then there's me. I'm the immediate past district director, kind of like a plain old Toastmaster, but I'll still be around because I have to help with the next round of district officer elections. All right, so working with people who want to work up. But I'm also around if you need any help, you have any questions, I'm around. I'm happy to help in any way. You just have to reach out. Next slide, please. So that's kind of the executive team and how they help. And these are some of the trio members, and they talked a little bit yesterday about some of the things that they're doing to be successful. It's important to realize that our trio members, our executive team, even you as area and division directors, you're building teams out to accomplish and achieve excellence. So if you have questions about how renewals works, if you want to know the latest tips and tricks on open houses, there are usually people helping with information and helping to run those programs, right? If you have pathways questions, and I know there's going to be a ton of pathways questions, there's going to be people who can help answer those questions. As you think about contests later on in the year, we have contest chairs, we've got chief judges, we've got people who are there to help you every step of the way. So even if you've never run a contest before, who's never run a contest before? Yeah, you're not on your own. You're not on your own. Okay. And then we've got our district director, our cheerleader, kind of picking up all these different loose ends, working on the budget. But really, at the end of the day, the trio, they talk with each other a lot. Whether they're texting, they're emailing, they're getting on the phone, they are in touch with each other. So if you're even not sure where to go when you need help, or you only reach out to one of them, it it could be incredibly likely that the others are going to know and be aware of what's going on and find ways to help you. I like to believe that district director can be a good like traffic cop. Like, hey, go over here for information. No, what you want is over there. Here's a website link that can get you to the information that you're looking for if you're not sure. Of course, area directors, you can talk to your division directors right away. If they don't know, that can all get moved up. And this is not like the be all end all of chairs and program leaders that the team is working with. I know division directors are building teams, area directors are building teams. Some of these roles may exist in the year ahead. There may be new ones that we haven't even thought of yet. But the key thing is, all right, there is a huge team that's out there to run programs and initiatives to help our members, to help our officers, and to help you achieve excellence. And if you have a question on how they can help and what they're working on, they're always happy to answer them. Okay, so that's kind of what's happening more district level. Let's go all the way up to the top. Let's go all the way up to the next slide. World headquarters. Has anybody ever reached out to world headquarters before? All right, you can't phone them right now, but you can certainly send them emails. All right. World headquarters has a staff of more than 200 people, and they manage everything that happens on the back end. Right. They have marketing teams who think about like advertising campaigns that help the entire Toastmasters organization. They have training teams who build new paths in our program, who help improve the accessibility in the program that Pathways is. They've got people who answer questions about submitting awards. They have a CFO who manages finances. They have a huge organization, right? And we typically see members reaching out when they have questions, right, about dues and renewals. You have club officers reaching out when they have questions about officer training, or if they have to update their meeting places. There's tons of people you can connect with, and even us district officers work with people at world headquarters when we have problems. All right. If you want to know where this is, you go to toastmasters.org and go to the contact us button on the top right. All of this is right there, and you can't even see all of the email addresses, but they're there. It's taken about a week for them to get back to people now because everybody's kind of working from home a little bit. But they're there and they will answer your questions, right? They're available to help. Okay. But World Headquarters manages kind of the day-to-day, all the policies that have been implemented, how do they run in the day-to-day. That's kind of the World Headquarters staff, and they're led by a CEO, Daniel Rex. Next slide, please, Bet. Daniel Rex is the CEO. He's been the CEO for a couple of years, for many years. So that's one name to know. And the CEO sits on the board of directors. All right, there's actually 19 people who sit on the board of directors, and we elect 16 of those people. All right, we elect 16 of those people. And I'll talk a little bit about how elections work, but the three names kind of at the world headquarters level you're going to know is the CEO, Daniel Rex. You're probably going to recognize Naomi Takeuchi. She's our board of director, who's kind of here out of Region 1. She actually used to live in Petaluma. And Richard Peck is our international president-elect. So going into August, he is going to become our international president. Okay, so he's kind of like the Bet Bullhofer of Toastmasters International, the whole organization. And he's just a regular member that rose up through the ranks. Naomi's just a regular member who rose up through the ranks. Anybody who becomes a Toastmaster can run to be a board of director. Anybody? Okay. Next slide. What do board of directors actually do, though? All right, that's the big question. So the board of directors look at a high level, all the way up here, very strategically about at the organization. They look at all the policies that we have, and they ensure that they're rolled out and implemented. Okay. So what kind of policies are we thinking about? We're talking about changes to contest rules. Right? So allowing online contests was a change to the rules and the policies that had to be approved by the board. Changing how we run business meetings was a change that had to be approved by the board. We get into things like, well, what if we want to change our dues? What if we don't want to pay $45 to Toastmasters anymore? All right, that's a change that needs to be made by the board. What if we say, hey, we want to kick out the Pathways program because it's terrible? Guess what? The board is making those types of strategic decisions. I even hear they're thinking about changing some club officer names. That's a decision that's made by the board. So all of those big strategic things, there's a group of 19 people, 16 of whom we actually elect by casting votes representing our clubs at the upcoming annual business meeting, which is going to be in August. So Bet and Julie and George, they're actually interviewing people, candidates for the board, to make a decision on who's going to best represent them, all right, to answer questions and make these financial decisions, all right? So you have the board, you have world headquarters staff implementing the day-to-day. You have the board of directors doing all this organizational and strategic planning, all right, and oversight. And then we're going to go to the next slide and talk about the regions. As I mentioned, there are 14 regions in the world, all right? We're here in region 1, right? There's 9 regions just covering North America alone. So we're here in region 1, but there's a huge organization. And the interesting thing, right, you have board of directors, next slide, but you also have these regional advisors. And our regional advisor is Cindy Laatsch. She's actually out of Franklin, Wisconsin. She doesn't actually physically live right here nearby. Next slide. So you'll see her probably often as well. Their role is different. They're not a board of director, okay? Board of director does all the strategic stuff, okay? The regional advisors do not do the strategic things. They instead are focused a lot more on the tactical pieces, okay? So they are focused on how we train, coach, and mentor members of the trio so that our guests, our members, our officers have a fantastic experience so that we get to distinguish, all right? And they actually report up directly to the international president. So they're going to report up this coming year to Richard Peck. And they're going to be doing district officer training, not just in August, but also in January when we do kind of mid-year training, all right? They hold monthly calls with all of their trio members. So they do these one-on-ones. They do monthly calls with all the district directors. They do monthly calls with all the program quality directors, all the club growth directors. They stay in touch with the board of directors. They communicate with world headquarters. They kind of try to keep everybody informed on what's working well and what people need to do to improve and what questions the trio has about board of director policies and staff policies, so everybody can just be that much more effective, all right? So you have board of directors, strategic, regional advisors are like the coach, and they're coaching the district officers to do all these things to be successful. And the district officers are supporting, are signing and have all these chairs and programs that are helping you, that are helping our members and helping our clubs be successful. So I hope that gives you a snapshot of the big picture, right, of all the different roles and people who are involved to make sure that you have all the help that you need so that our members and you can find your voice and make a difference in the year ahead. And I have no idea if I have time left, but I am here for questions, and I'm always happy to take questions by email as well, and Bet can answer a bunch of these too.
Yes, we do have time at the end of today for questions, but you exactly hit the right mark, Kevin. Thank you so much. Good job. And now we're bringing up Lisa. And Lisa will be talking about more details around the area director. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa. Let me know if you want me to move to the next slide and so on.
You can go ahead and move to the next slide. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. And I want to thank everyone who took time to fill out a survey. You helped us figure out what you wanted to learn. I'm going to start with the role of the area director, and this is right out of the book. And I'm showing it because it's important, but I highlighted the words that are important here. And I honestly went back and looked at this, and I'm like, oh, there's so many clues here. That we were a liaison, as Kevin said, there's this whole structure behind. So we have our hands with the clubs and our hands over here, and we're that, you think of a human, what are they, those belts that move things along. We're transferring information back and forth. Understand and support your club. I think this is one of the things that we get wrong or can get wrong, is we think we have to police them, or we're there to tell them what's right and what's wrong, rather than to understand what's going on with them and how to support them, and really to serve their needs, which means we need to find out what their needs are. The area council is just more of the same that we've been talking about, is that when we huddle up people, we can share resources, we can share ideas, we can problem solve, we can do lots of things together. And the goal is to help club be distinguished. And I just want to make a PS about distinguished. That is about the DCP, but it is more so, in my opinion, about the health of a club. The points are not the focus, they're the result of the rest of the business happening well. Next slide. The responsibilities, and we'll dive deeper into this. This is just the top level, is that you, as area directors, you need to do area visits and area reports. You have to do them, you do them twice for the Toastmaster year, once in the first semester by November 30th, and once again from January to May 31st. And you need to do that for all your clubs. Earlier is better, but quality is also important. And so spend the time with your clubs. And then the last piece is the area contests, which last year we started having only one. So good news for that, but lots of people love contests. I happen to be one of them. Next slide, thanks. I know I'm ahead of schedule, but this part is the meat. So what makes a good area director? Next slide. So how I'm going to go through this part is I'm going to share some things in the IMHEO. I know many of you may get what that is, but it's in my humble experience and observation. Then we're going to dive deeper into building relationships and the area visits. I've asked my team of, I'm currently the outgoing Division H director, and so my team of area directors is going to kind of watch the chat as we go through this. They're going to share some of their wisdom experience with you, and then we're going to open up Q&A, and then at the end we're going to have a little activity. Next slide. So what makes a good area director? You do. Show up, just be yourself. That's the biggest learning for me, is we all have different leadership styles. We all have different interests. Be you and just show up. The first question I asked in the survey is, what do you want to get from being an area director? And some of the answers you all said is, you want to develop your leadership. You want to have more confidence. You want to learn how to delegate and prioritize and manage time. All of that is right there. So focus on that. Know your why. Why are you there? Be there for you first, because you get to be a role model and show the members what that looks like. When members commit to and know their why and what they're learning, they show up and the meetings run themselves. It's the loss of that, and when they start being a slave to Toastmasters instead of letting Toastmasters serve them, we lose that. So really focus on your why. I had a conversation last night with Sherry Jensen after the call, and I'll let her tell this later, but she shared her why with me last night that was really powerful. And so the why is both what do you want to get out of Toastmasters and focusing on that, but also why are you in Toastmasters? What difference are you wanting to make out in the world? We do this here so that we can do something better out there. Be a learner. Give up perfection. Assume there's just tons to learn, and just there's no mistakes. There's no mistakes. Just go out there and learn from everything that happens. The next piece is relationships first. That is everything. I'll talk a little bit more. Servant leadership, be resourceful. So relationships first is have a mindset. Sorry. Relationships first, be a servant leader, serve your teams, and be resourceful. We're going to play around with that a little bit. We already started. Kevin went through and told you what pieces are available. So we'll be, it's a ping pong all year long. Is where do I need help? Who has the resources? Who knows something that I can tag on? Who can help me? All of those things will come into play. Next slide. Whoa. Wait, I'm sorry. Go back. Excuse me.
Did you refresh the slides maybe?
You know what? Let me go. Can I share?
Yes.
Let me go to mine. I apologize.
There's no mistakes, Lisa. I just heard it.
You did hear that. Q&A. I did that. Okay.
All right. I'm going to make you host so you can share your screen.
Okay. Okay. So I am.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to make another public service announcement. Please rename yourself for your full name and then dash area or division. That way we can take attendance from the chat. And if anyone doesn't know how to do that, ping me privately and I'll tell you how. All right. It's all yours, Lisa.
Okay. So building relationships, that's the first piece. And it really starts with a mindset of service and supporting your clubs. One of the things that was shared in the survey, and I certainly had this feeling, is in some ways, we don't know whether clubs are going to be open to us or not, whether they're going to be receptive or ready for us to come in, or how willing they are to receive us. So at some level, we have to play the earn your way to the table. And I think of it sometimes as you might do with your in-laws, is that they maybe want to love you, but they're not sure they do. They're not sure if you're going to pull their child away from them. So there might be a little reluctance there. But go in with that knowledge and let them see that you are just there to service them. Focus on what's good and right and build from there. I think that we can look at the numbers and all of that and we can see, oh, there's some issues there. But if we go in and just have what is working, if they have members, something is working. Even if they have only a few members, if they have 1 point, something is working. So start building on the things that are working and go from there. People, not numbers. We hear people having resistance to, I don't want to hear about DCP, don't make this about points. Start with people, and particularly now, there's so much going on that really diving in and spending time to know who we are. Bet did it beautifully last night. For us, just first thing, just who are you? What are you? What's going on with you? What's exciting in your life? Just check in. It's so important. I had an experience 2 years ago when I was an area director that I completely failed at, and I went in and met with the leadership team. They wanted me to share ideas about growing their membership, and I was like, boom, 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 here's ideas. And at the end of the meeting, it crashed and burned because I found out after the meeting, they were going through a layoff and people had their heads down, and it was awful. I felt awful. And had I known, my lesson, let me say that, had I known, I would have done different. And what I learned from it is always start with that. The start now is you're on board now. Your term starts in 2 weeks, but yes, I saw somebody say in the chat that can we start visiting our clubs? Yes, absolutely, introduce your clubs. I would encourage you to have your predecessor do an introduction. If you can, pop into one of their virtual meetings and just say hi. You don't have to, this is not the time to give instructions or what you're going to be doing or all that. Just show up. And then this part is new, is at TLI this year, and we have 2 scheduled right now, July 18th and again on August 15th. The last half hour of TLI will be division breakouts. What that means is all the leaders that are coming to training, the last part of the day, they're going to meet with you. And that, again, is just a social hour. I would recommend that you do something like Bet did at the beginning. Is not, again, we're going to come and we're going to check and see what's going on. It's simply, here we are, introduce yourselves to us. We want to know who you are. We want you to know who we are. So I hope that you all can kind of play with that and use that to your advantage. Notice and recognize, and I mean this from the club to the members, is, again, notice everything just with it. I think it was Vicki Hubbard last night that used the word curious. Be really curious and very attentive to what's going on when you do go to meetings, when you do go to leaderships. Who's quiet? Who's showing up? Who's doing this? Because you'll begin to learn about what's going on in your club, and to pick pieces of breadcrumbs up that will lead you down a path of how you can help them. You'll want to meet with your, and on that, sorry, before I go on, when you're noticing, it's also a great time to plant the seeds of succession planning in the club and in your area. One of the hardest things, I think, or I don't think it's actually hardest, I think it's an overlooked area, is when you're in a meeting and you see someone doing something or expressing interest, just let them know that you noticed it. That's enough of a tap to get them thinking. And, you know, if I see people doing that, I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about taking on another leadership role? What do you think about? Just planting the seeds so that when it comes time to replace yourself and to have your leaders replace them, that you start assisting them if they need it in that process as well. You want to meet with your club presidents. I know that somebody asked in the survey is, who is it in the club that we meet with? Generally speaking, you're meeting with the president, maybe the president, VP, and secretary, VPE and secretary, but go with whoever you need to go with. I had one club that I felt over time that the president was maybe a barrier because they had lost some energy to the rest of the club. So I reached out to the whole membership because I wanted to kind of see where the energy was. So I think you got to kind of feel your way, and you don't want to step on toes, but don't miss the opportunity to connect with who you need to connect to. And then this is the thing is, yes, we're there to share information, to share knowledge, all of that. But with every one of us, we learn best by resourcing ourselves. And so rather than starting with, here's some suggestions, ask them to assess their own club. What do they think is going on? What do they think they're struggling with? And when they tell you, oh, we're struggling with membership or we're struggling with pathways, ask them, what do you think of the issues there? And what thoughts do you have about working with that? Then they may ask you, but we all learn better when we can get to our own answers. So there's a place for you to say, man, I offer some suggestions, and this is part of the earning your right to the table, is asking permission to resource them. And then prioritize your efforts. And what I mean by that is, as you do your area visits and learn about your clubs, you'll get a sense of where their willingness is. How are they doing? And at the end of the day, you have to kind of prioritize and time manage is, where are my efforts going to be? Where is my work going to be most fruitful? One of the things that I say for myself is, I'm not willing to work harder at a club with a club than the club is willing to work for itself. I'm there to resource them. I want them to know, even when I feel like they're not interested in me, I want them to know that I'm there, but I'm not going to keep knocking on my door. I'm going to work with the clubs that want my support, that are looking for it, that are hungry for it to grow and to get better. And then the be persistent piece is, try another way. Don't give up. If something didn't work, move on, try something else. So live and learn. On area visits, okay, on area visits, these were, so you have two of them to do, but this is it's important to be transparent here, is area visits. You have two of them, but you cannot, honestly, you'll need to have lots of visits to have them be meaningful. It's not in service to your clubs. It's not in service to the district to do area visits and reports to just check the box. So what that looks like is, you want to prepare, and preparing might look like looking at the previous area director reports from your predecessors to see what's been said. You want to look at the DCP reports. George is going to go through all of that for you. You'll want to look at their pathways adoption, the George Marshall report, one of my favorites. Is you want to look at all of these to see what's the story that's evolving out of this. And then you kind of want to whitewash that and go in with fresh eyes. So you want a backdrop, but you don't want it to blind you from, or have you walk in and look for what isn't working instead of, let me see something. In fact, I would challenge you to, when you look at reports and see information like, oh, they have a membership issue, or oh, they're struggling in pathways, is go into your area reports, into your area visits, and meet with your clubs and see if you can find evidence to the contrary. Where are they okay in pathways? What are the little seeds of things that I can pull out? Meeting with the club, you want to ideally meet with the leaders first, have them share what they think is unique about the club, what they do well, What are their club goals? All of those things. And then the last piece is observe, is notice the vibe of the club, the culture of the club, assess their willingness to grow, plan, show them who you are. One of the mistakes I see with leaders in Toastmasters, doesn't happen a lot, but it happens sometimes, is that they get so into their leadership that they stop being role modeling what a good Toastmaster is, which is to show up in meetings and do other roles, to continue working on your path, to stay focused on your why you're there. So show them what it looks like. And the tell the truth piece is sometimes the area reports are not, they're not pretty. It's important, and I think that you want to be gentle with that. They're going to read it. Your area reports go to the area, the division director, the district, and to your club president. So you want to be gentle but truthful and in service to them growing. I know I went to an area visit this time. The club was falling apart, and took me like 4 or 5 times to get going with them. But finally, when I met with them, there's only 3 people, and I said, this is the area visit. And I just want to be upfront with you that it's not going to be a pretty report, but it is an accurate report of what's going on. And the other piece of that is that clubs also have a responsibility. We all, as members and as clubs, signed a Toastmaster promise that upholds the brand and the integrity of Toastmasters. And it is our job a little bit to remind them of that. That isn't to shove it down their throats, but to remind them that we all have a commitment to uphold each other. And then now I am ready to, my slides are a mess. I am going to move to invite my team. I'm going to shut my screen down. And I'm going to invite my team of Catherine Chung, Stephanie Stewart, Sherry Jensen, and Hugh Bussell to join me on the screen. And I'm going to open it up to them. I've asked them to watch the chat. They all saw the surveys that you asked, and I'm going to turn the floor over to them. Catherine, would you like to begin?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Today, I want to share how to delegate without guilt and worry that not getting things done. So number one, you want to identify exactly what you need. And you can contact your division director and then check what is required from you. Say, for example, when I have a question on the contest, I contact Lisa right away so that we can identify exactly what you need. Then from that on, then you can contact your club and then post message on the calendar so that you spread the word out and then you are asking for help. And of course, after that, you want to give them exactly the deadline. And then after that, you will receive forms and interest from them, and then you will follow up. And one question is, how can you deal with your guilt? So then when you have that feeling coming up, then ask you the question, are you doing something harm for that person, or are you doing that? Or are you doing something wrong for that? So you can ask yourself that question so that they can help you deal with your guilt. So that's my little summary of Delegation 101. Thank you.
Thank
you. If you have a question, yeah, you can put on the chat and I can answer that. Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. Hugh, would you like to share something?
Sure. So one of the key things that you can do to be successful as an area director is to choose your regional director. We had a great coach in Lisa this last year. She was really good at putting all that together. So if you are going to be a regional director in the next year, I think you should steal every idea that you possibly can from Lisa on how to do that. We're all busy people. I know I'm really busy. One of the things I do is I'm a technical writer, so a lot of stuff I do is based on deadlines. So if Lisa sent out a deadline, hey, Hugh, this needs to be done by such and such a date, I got a lot of stuff done because she was bugging me about it. And she said, am I bugging you too much? I said, no, that was exactly what I needed to kind of get things done. One thing I hadn't seen mentioned here that I did years ago, because I was an area governor in the past, was at sort of the beginning of the Toastmaster years, I went in and did a officer investment kind of ceremony. So with the permission of the clubs, I went in and I kind of introduced all the officers to the club. Now they knew them, but you talked about what the roles were and you told the club that they should be really proud that these people have stepped up to do the job in their club. And that kind of gets them started on the right foot. The club realizes how much work they're doing for them and they get a lot more support that way. So I found it to be a very positive thing to do to start. If you can do that, find that. There's a number of those online. And if you want to reach out to me and ask about it, that'd be great. Thanks.
Sherry.
Yeah, hello everyone. What are area councils and who sets them up? That's in the chat. Hugh, did you want to talk about that real quick? Or Lisa?
I have a section about it, so we can touch on it
Okay.
when we get to my section.
Okay. Well, Lisa touched upon a lot of things for the area director, and I did want to do a shout out. She really supported us all through it. I think I echo what Hugh said. Oh my gosh, yeah, it was wonderful. And it just goes back to what Ben and Kevin were saying before. There's always somebody to help you. Just ask those questions. I had two things I wanted to share as an area director. I'm an outgoing area H19 director and incoming area H28 director. And it's about, I really liked what Lisa said about relationships. It's not about the numbers. And I know Lisa used to say DCP points and the points and points and points. But, and people tend to kind of go, oh, I don't know what that is. I don't know what points are. Oh, I don't even know where my club is in points. But it is about relationships. And I can't remember exactly what you said, but if you go, the people doing the pathways and doing the things will equal those points. And that was a great point. I can't emphasize enough for me personally was area visits. I became just a regular member in a couple of them. And since we're on Zoom calls all the time, there's really no reason not to pop in there. You are there to answer questions and give presentations. Almost every time I went for a visit to a club that I wasn't a member of, but I was the area director, they were like, can you get up and give a presentation? I was like, sure. So it's just all these other opportunities that we have to speak. And if you don't know the answer, there's people who know the answer. They're all out there, and just tell them, hey, I don't know the answer, but I'll be able to do it and to find that answer for you. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sherry. And, oh, good. Stephanie, right on time. There she is in her car and all the way from Arizona.
Is my virtual background showing up? I put San Francisco. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we don't see your background yet. Just your.
Oh man, oh well. Okay, well, I'm at my son's basketball game sitting in the car, but I wanted to be here to share with you guys. Again, what Hugh said was really nice. The way to introduce yourself and to bounce off of Lisa's idea and to listen to your clubs and really find out what their motivation is. You're there to support them, and there are a few requirements for being an area director, but we're all kind of winging it, right? Especially in the beginning of our term, we're all winging it. So there are resources. You can ask other people what you need, but a great way to introduce to your club is to look up the club success plan. And I believe that it's posted on the district website, but maybe Bet can bounce off that. I was chatting with her about it. It really helped me get to know my clubs and did what Hugh was discussing, is finding out what the investment of the officers is. It's about a 2-page little worksheet, and on your first visit with them, you can go in to talk to the officers of each of your clubs and kind of introduce yourself and see what their goals are, what they're looking for, what they need, and let them set up their own goals for their club, and then you can throughout your term to support them. My biggest learning was to listen and to understand what their motivation was, not what I could do to help me, or what I wanted the DCP's points to look like, or what I wanted the awards for my area to look like, but to listen to them and make their goals happen.
Thank you, Stephanie. And now we're going to stay on board here, all of us, and we want to open it up to questions. So if you have a question, just open your video, unmute yourself, and pop in. Nope. Okay, well, there. Thanks, Lisa.
I have a question. I'm assuming that when you do a visit, you don't tell them in advance that you're coming. Is that correct?
No, actually it isn't. Because again, you absolutely want to let them know that you're coming. And ideally you want to meet with your the leadership team beforehand, even if it's over the phone, to find out to let them know that you're coming, to let them know why you're coming. It's a good idea to kind of tell them what the area director report looks like. But you absolutely don't want to do a surprise.
Okay.
Yeah, surprises are bad.
They would totally read that likely as you policing them or looking for wrong. So you absolutely want to volunteer to do a speech if they want one. And you might ask them, if they say they want you to do a speech, ask them, would you like me to do a speech on a club success thing, or would you like me to do a pathway speech? So that you're giving them what they need. If what they need is their club to see what pathways looks like, do a speech that you might do in your home club. If they want some education, then do a speech that provides that. But you absolutely don't want to. And to Sherry's point is, depending upon your club, you may need to visit lots of times. There are some clubs that, like Sherry said, I almost acted like I was a member of, because they needed that. Their energy changes, again, when you can walk in and be a support with them. They get to see, sometimes clubs get stale in there, particularly struggling ones. They get stale, and to have some fresh blood in is really energetic for them. Thanks, Lisa. Did I answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Thank you. Philip.
Hi, thank you very much, Lisa. So my question is, if you want to do more than 2 visits, are they required to be reported, or do you just go as the flow? What's the requirements for that?
That you only can do the report once. And
Okay.
so when you get in, the report, once you fill it out, you hit
Twice,
submit.
Lisa.
Oh, what? 5 minutes?
Twice. No, you can only do it twice. Once.
Well, once each
term.
time, yes. Once
Okay.
each time. But once you hit submit, it's submitted.
Okay.
That doesn't mean, by the way, that that's the report that goes. That doesn't mean that if there's updates, you do want to update your division director. You do want to talk about it at DECM, because always at the DECM meetings, which by the way is your monthly meeting with the district, there will be times for the districts, for the divisions and the areas to report. So you want to keep that always updated.
Okay.
Yourself and everyone else. Thank you. Good question.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Stacy?
Lisa, can I just add on to the question about surprise visits?
Sure.
I heard Ashley Harkness say one time that he went to a club that hadn't had an amazing relationship with their past area director and hadn't really seen an area director around for a while, in addition to that other experience. And when he went in with the idea, or he put on and said, you know, I'm here to learn more about your club and to see how you do things. Everyone does things differently, and I'm curious what roles you have, and, you know, joke master versus no joke master, you know, with that kind of an attitude of really learning and getting curious, like Vicki Hubbard said, they completely changed their tone, he said, and that it was a completely different interaction from that moment forward. So if we treat ourselves as educators, or, you know, think of ourselves as educators and just helpers with Toastmasters in general, we all know how much Toastmasters has done for us on either the leadership side or the public speaking side. And we want to just simply give that gift to other people and other members in other clubs.
Lisa, this is Ashley. Can I add a comment to that?
Please.
Oh yeah, Ashley.
Yeah, Stephanie, you have it right, except you missed one point. And that was the very first time I went to visit a club, they threw me out because I was the area director.
Better story. I'll tell that one next time.
But you've been thrown out at other clubs many other times, haven't you?
By you, Hugh, by you.
Yeah, that's not the first time, Ashley. You need to come play with that stuff.
All kinds of things.
But I eventually was able to go back and not on bended knee, but come in to say, look, you know, service from the district is service to your club. And when they caught that I wasn't there to tell them how to do it, they were much more amenable to, well, would you like to give a speech? And I did. And it wasn't about being an area director. It was about baking bread, but that's okay. Thank you for the chance.
Stacy, welcome.
Thank you. It's more of a logistics question, but just in general, this information has been so helpful. I mean, I'm here feverishly writing notes and just think it's such a great approach to come in and just partner with the club and help the officers know that that's the purpose. So I really like that. The logistics of filling, is it a PDF fillable? I know Toastmasters technology doesn't always offer that, as I'm trying to fill out another form for Toastmasters, and I was just curious if our reports could be filled out that way.
Thank you for the question. And
Lisa, can I share my screen? Because I have a report up right now.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to share this because I think I almost feel like I paid Stacy to ask this question. So this is Heart to Heart. I know there's probably like 5 members of Heart to Heart on this right now. And this is what it looks like. This is what so your form is actually a web page form where there's text boxes. You have to type the text into the text boxes, and it's very clunky. But this is what the result looks like. So first impressions, this is actually following the moments of truth format. So what are the first impressions? And so when you go to your visit, you really want to take notes on like, what are you seeing? So this person wrote this nice long thing about people being greeted. You know, the entire team of officers did an impeccable job leading the meeting. So our guests warmly welcomed, our guests given info, our guests, you know, so you're thinking about that guest experience, and you're a guest at that moment. So you should be treated the same way. You know, agendas, you know, what does it do well? So we're looking for is these set of questions, and we probably can send this out to everyone so they can just see them ahead of time and start thinking about it. And membership orientation, and this is where you have to ask the officers, right? Because you're not going to know what the member orientation is. You have to actually ask, like, hey, how do you orient new members? And sometimes they're going to say, you know, oh, we should be doing that. And then you can give them some like, hey, well, this is something I've seen that works. So membership orientation, variety and communication and fellowship. Like, is it a fun meeting? Is it well organized? How is it made enjoyable? How does the club communicate? And this one is another one, like, you have to ask them, right? Because you're not going to see it in a visit. Does the club use Toastmasters International website or branded portal? Some of these things are just trying to find out, like, how do clubs work and how can we help as an international organization help them do better? What does club do well? Planning and meetings. Was it an organized meeting or was it chaos? Was it productive? Were there agendas? Membership strength. So for this one, you can go and look at the dashboard, and George is going to be doing an overview of what that is. So you can go look at this. You don't have to ask them like how many members, because you can go look that up. Do they use Meetup and other things to promote? You know, how do they retain members? So these are questions that you can ask the president and the officers. This is the most important part of this to me, is what is this list of people that we can help mature to the next level, right? These are the people who might be the next level area director, who could help you with your contest, right? These are your helpers that you want to recruit. So this is a very important list, and the officers should be thinking, this is a rising star in our club. We need to get them a mentor. We need to help them grow. So this is a very important list. Okay, what does the club do well? Achievement. Are we recognizing the celebrating achievement? You know, this is really important here. And then finally, this is a part where the club success that Stephanie was mentioning. Who's doing what? And of course, CC awards are going away. I don't know if they're going to update the report. I hope so. But you basically ask, do you guys have a plan for the year? Who's earning what award? So this is a really important part, is like, who's planning to do what? Linda's name is all over here, Michelle's. This is a great club, and we can see that everything is filled out. They have a plan. It's not random. Like, this club knows what it's doing, and they're working on success. So that is what the club, the result looks like, and I hope that answers your question, Cece. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. And I want to say, I know that a couple people said in the survey, you know, are they changing the area director's report? The answer is no. It is. I will say it's a cumbersome report. I will say, but it has all the right information. It's a little cumbersome. And don't do the part that just went through the last page, which is really where all the DCP points are going to show up, is a huge piece of it. And lots of times I've seen reports and people put NA, I don't know. You may not know, but don't not know because you didn't ask, or because you didn't go and look at reports that show you what people have earned. You can go in and say, hey, I saw last year that John Smith was an IP1. How's he doing on that? So that you can have some back data to ask them. You can ask them to give you when you go with their reports. Saw some questions in here about Lisa Ash asks, is it the first impressions a little trickier when we're not meeting in person? I want to say true and false. The truth is, right now, you ask them that question, how's it going with virtual? And so that you can, you know, where are they struggling? What's different about your club because you're meeting virtual? There's lots of questions that you can ask. When I think it'd be trickier as we navigate, we don't know when that will be, or even if it will be, when we start going to hybrid and then meeting in place, is to find out what kind of support they need in that process, but all in questions. Tony also, Sherry, did you want to add to that?
Not to that. I wanted to add one thing, if I could, about area reports. One thing that I learned, that I'm really busy. How many of us are super busy out there? And I have jobs. I work in Palo Alto, and so you can do it either way. You can like plan, let's say you have 4 clubs, maybe 5 clubs. You could do 1 a month, maybe, with some scheduling that way. What I did in the last year, and it worked out great for me, I just focused on 1 week. There was one on Tuesday day, Tuesday night, and then Wednesday day. You know, there was sprinkled all out, and I just focused that 1 week. And I told my employer, I said, you know, I'm going to just focus on it. So that's 2 strategies you could do, like, you know, spread them out if you have that bandwidth. I didn't. I just focused on the 1 week, and I got them all done.
The other thing that I would add to that is that though you are geographically you have your geographic area, as a division, you may look at people's work schedules, and like Sherry works in San Francisco, in Palo Alto. It was hard for her to do daytime meetings, but that doesn't mean that someone else on the team can't do it. And so even though you have your areas, if you have a club that is difficult for you to get to, ask someone else to cover for you and exchange or do that, and really tag team on each other. The same is true as if you have a club that maybe you don't gel well with, tap with someone else to go in and support you in that, so that you get to press the easy button for yourself, but also can still resource the club. Now, I saw that Tony had a question. Can an area director become a member of your clubs to help the club? I'm going to answer that, and then Beth and the rest of you, if you think I've answered incorrectly, please pop in. The answer is yes, if your intention is to be a member of the club. And no, I don't think it's a good idea anywhere for any of us to do something to pad the numbers. And it's because it has to do with the integrity of Toastmasters and the integrity of us. If you're going to be a regular member and go to the meetings, then be a member. You can be a member of all the clubs you want, but don't do it just to make your numbers or the club's numbers look good, because that's not supportive. It's enabling, in my opinion. Beth?
Yes, I would love to add to that. Anytime anyone joins a club, it should be to fulfill the club promise, to fulfill the member promise. You fill the form and you sign. It says, I will be here. I will be an officer when called upon. I will be giving helpful feedback. And if you know you can't do that for a club, then don't join. Like, it is not, I don't think you should join. I am a member of one club. Okay, it's one club, and that's what I can fit into my schedule, and that's where I can serve. So don't think that you should join any more than one club. There are people who are members of 5 clubs, and that's because they love that. They don't, maybe that's the thing they can do, and we can let them talk to that. But really, please do not do anything because you're trying to add numbers to the club, and they're like, we just need one more member, and you're like, I really can't join your club, really. That is not okay, because then it becomes whoever's the richest person can pay dues at as many clubs as they want, and that's no longer Toastmasters. We're here to serve the member, and we're the member. So if we're not being served by joining a club, absolutely do not join the club. Is that very clear?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. I'm going to close off this one, but I want to say a couple things. I see, Michelle, your question about area directors report. Yes, they are available, and we'll get the resources to you. One of the things that I had a survey for the incoming team, but I also had a survey for the outgoing team. And what I asked them, what was the biggest reward that they got as an area director? What was their challenges? I also asked them, and by the way, all of that was packed into this. I also asked them what their area director superpower was. And what I mean by that is all the clubs have issues, and we all have our thing that we're more comfortable with, that we feel more at ease at, and we can tap each other. So I didn't quite get all of my ducks in a row in terms of doing it, but I have names. These people have said, you can pass my name and email along, and here's my superpower. And so I will get that to you. I will also put links to the area report, the area director reports. And I think, I don't know where yet, but I think there will be a place on the website that we can put resources that you can go to. I know George is going to go through tons of them for you today, but you know, this training today is just a small part. Every time you go to a monthly DECA meeting, you're going to get more training, you're going to learn more, you're going to meet people that can help you. So that part is on and on. Beth, I know you're back on, so you have something to say.
I just wrote a note for Ed to make an area director resource page. So
okay,
Ed, I'll ping you about it so you remember to do it.
Okay. How does the president get a report? Okay, the president gets a report is when you submit the report online, then it automatically generates a report that goes to the trio, or at least part of the trio, it goes to your division director, and it goes to the club president automatically. That it just goes.
Yeah,
So
and by the way, be ready for them to ask you when you go to those clubs. They'll say, I saw that you wrote this in the thing and we're working on it and we already fixed it. So they do read them.
There you
Absolutely.
go. Yes. Okay, so now if everyone, we're going to do kind of a closing activity. So if everyone except me could shut your videos off. And we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. And here's the thing is Bette has talked about being community, showing up for each other. So I'm going to do this little pop-up activity. And here's the pop-up. I'm going to make a statement about maybe asking about a superpower you have. And if this is true for you, so I might say that you're really good at contests. You love doing contests. If that's true for you, I want you to pop your screen up and show yourselves. I'm not asking you to speak up. I'm asking you to show up to show that that's your thing. And for those of you that may not be your superpower, you may not feel most comfortable, I want you to kind of notice who's in the room. And then I'm going to ask you to shut your videos down. I'm going to throw something else out. If that's true for you, pop up. This is a way for us to see who has the same struggles I do, who has places of strength that I can go to resource, and we'll just have fun. Any questions? Yes, go to gallery view. Thank you. Okay, so the first one is many clubs have membership issue. If you feel like you are as strong at helping clubs grow their membership, pop on up. Okay. Okay. Is everyone see? Gallery view, everyone. So so everyone check that out. If this is not your deal, check out who's here. If it is, and somebody asked about councils. So let me ask you, let me say this. An area council is you covering up people that will work together. You can form any council. So if membership is, then reach out to this people and form a membership council. So there is no limit to the number of resources that you huddle up in service of the greater good. Thank you. Now, if you could all pop down. And if you are really good at pathways, if you got the back end, you know how to encourage people to get on pathways, it doesn't scare you, jump on. So look, pathways, the thing that, lots of people, but look at all the resources you are. So wave your hands, be proud. That's great. Okay, next, so if you could pop down, thank you, Julie. Corporate clubs is another unique area. If you have expertise or feel comfortable or in a corporate club and know that you can share some wisdom, pop up. Okay, yay, thank you. If you are really good at helping clubs create really fun, effective meetings, pop your screen up. Thank you. Okay, and if you are a data geek, you enjoy looking at the numbers to see what the story that comes, and you could help people look at reports and figure things out. If that's your thing, that's my thing. I love doing that. So you look at all these are all resources. So nice. Yes, and please use the thumbs up reaction. Whoever asked, Stacy asked that. Thank you. And because I know we're wrapping up on time, if you were a contest queen or king, raise your hand.
Princess.
Good, good. Okay, thank you. And one last thing, I'm going to end, and I'm right on time, but go ahead and put in the chat what your superpower is so that we can capture the chat and double up those resources. We'll put pools of names and people that say this is where they can be helpful and support each other. Thanks so much. Back to you, Beth.
That was so fun. That was so fun. I was really enjoying all of the pictures of everybody having a lot of fun, sharing their superpowers. Really great job, Lisa. I think we got a lot of things covered. And now we're going to take a quick break, 5 minutes, come back sharply at 9:20. We have lots more exciting content for you today. Get some coffee, do anything else that this human body needs, and we'll see you guys at 9:20. And it is 9:20 somewhere. That's what they say. All right, up next is George Marshall. George, do you want me to share the slides or do you want to have host privileges?
I need to share my own slides. I had a little problem importing in the deck.
I'm going to be making you host. Use it wisely. All right. And now I present our PQD, George Marshall, with his fun hat.
Hello, hello. We're going to explore Toastmasters information. I'm going to talk about three things. First is a way to help all your clubs improve. Second is we're going to dive a little deeper on recognition for area directors. And finally, I'm going to show you where to find the data that you are going to need this year as you carry out your duties as area and division directors. So let's get started. How many of you have done a moment of truth? Use the little reaction button down there at the bottom to say how many people have done a moment of truth. Folks, this is a great tool. Let's talk about it a little bit. Why do a moment of truth? It's a way to discover a way to improve the club. This is something that you do to the club or for the club. This is something the club does, which you may be able to help facilitate. Have the club members discover a way to improve the club. It gets all members involved in 6 different aspects of club quality. We'll talk about that. And does it work? Absolutely. You're going to get a bunch of suggestions, different ideas on what the club could do to improve. You look at them afterwards and work through them and implement everything that makes sense and work. Let's take a look. Toastmasters breaks down club quality in 6 ways. First impressions. How does the club appear to a new guest appearing? Membership orientation, fellowship, variety, communication. If these look familiar, it's because Lisa just talked about them in the area director report. Toastmasters has been around for almost 100 years. They've learned over that time the key things that make a club work. These are the things. Program planning, meeting organization. Remember Lisa talked about, is the meeting organized or not? Membership strength, always important. You can't help your members if there's not enough of the members to help each other. And achievement recognition. Recognition is an important part of the Toastmaster quality. So here's my challenge to you. Some of you may have run a Moments of Truth, some of you may haven't. Go find out about it. It's a free download, folks. You go to the Toastmasters website, you get the manual, the handout, the chart, the slides. I wouldn't recommend using their slides as is. You can customize them. And there's different ways you can run it, but the whole idea is to have the club involved in answering the questions in those 6 areas I talked about. And then you implement them. Guarantee you, if the club really makes an effort to do this right, it will work. And this is a great thing to do to start out the year, get every club off on the right foot. If you have not done one, I suggest you go back to your home club, work with your club officers, some of you are club officers, and run that moment of truth in your own club. Figure out how it works, try it out, and then take the idea to the clubs in your area. Folks, this pays off. It really is a system that works. I'm going to switch gears now. Lisa talked about what makes an area director a good area director, and she got some great ideas for her team. I'm looking at it a little different way. We're going to get a little more details. And the first thing you need to understand is Toastmasters has a great recognition program. They recognize great clubs, they recognize Triple Crown for members, they recognize individual education awards, and they recognize area directors and division directors that do well. 3 levels, distinguished, select, and presidents. And I just want to give you a little information on how this works, because this is a great goal for you to take on. Yes, Your goal is to work with your clubs, bond with your clubs, help them do better. If you do a great job of that, aside from odd situations that do turn up, I think you'll find that you have qualified yourself to be a distinguished area director. Now the details, I'm going to go through just a highlight here. The details are in the District Recognition Program Manual, free download on the Toastmasters website. So what are the elements of a distinguished area program? First of all, there's some qualifying requirements. You have to do those before we can talk about what level of distinguished you wind up as. Start out with a base of at least 3 clubs in your area. You all have that. No net club loss. If you lose a club, but you build a club, you didn't have a net loss. And Lisa talked about the area visits. You need to submit 75% of the club for your first round visits by November 30th, and 75% in the second round by May 30th. So if you have 4 clubs in your area, the minimum is to get 3 of them in. But come on, people, we can do all this. And it doesn't help to be a day late. Don't procrastinate. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a kind of a long form. You need to pay attention to what's in it. It's not hard, but you need to pay attention. So don't wait till the last minute. It's a bother. The area directors need to visit each club twice a year. Once in the first half, once in the second half. This is a minimum, folks. How can you bond with your clubs? How can you get to know them if you only go see them one time? Stay in touch. You can do visits, you can do email, you can have phone conversations with the officers. Stay in touch. And don't wait to the last minute on those reports. Now you may choose to go once or twice before you finally do the official area visit, but do it there and write that report. Now those are the qualifying requirements. How do we get to those various levels? Distinguished, select president. A distinguished area is one in which 50% of your club base is distinguished. This makes perfect sense. The one thing you're trying to do is to help your club do well. And I have to tell you, don't get hung up about it's just numbers. It's not just numbers. The Distinguished Club Program is a really good indicator of how well the club is doing. So 50% of the club base is distinguished. You can't have a fractional club. So if you have 5 clubs, 50% is 2.5. We have to round that up to 3. You'll be distinguished. You met the qualifying requirements, and at least 3 of your clubs are distinguished. Any level of distinguished. President's is great, but regular distinguished is okay. Select distinguished. 50% of your base plus 1 are distinguished. Wow. So if you have 5 clubs, you would want 4 to be distinguished to make select. Let's all shoot for President's distinguished. What's that? President's distinguished, the goals are the same as for select, except a net growth of 1 club. Basically, that means don't lose any clubs and start a club in your area. You've got all year to do it, but frankly, get started first. Why wouldn't you start a club? Why wouldn't you want to bring the fantastic benefits of Toastmasters to people who haven't experienced before? Keep your eye out for leads. Ask other people. Those opportunities are out there. So that's the distinguished area. There's a distinguished division program too, you division directors. Now you're not doing visits, so the requirements are a little simpler. Your requirement is simple. Across your entire division, there's no net club loss. Same issue, some clubs may go away. You replace the clubs and there's still no net club loss. For a division to be distinguished, you need to have at least 40% of the clubs in your base be distinguished. So if you have 14 clubs in the base, you need 6 distinguished. Select 45%. President distinguished, 50% of all the clubs in your division should be distinguished, plus a net growth of 1 club. Now again, this is division wide. So it doesn't require individual areas, to be distinguished, although that's fantastic and they probably will be if it's a distinguished division, but it's just across your entire division. So that in brief is requirements. Again, remember I told you that the district recognition program has more details. You can refer back to it. You can always email me. We're gonna switch now to how we get that data. I just showed you a bunch of things where you can be distinguished, clubs can be distinguished, and the question is, where do you get that? Are you supposed to keep it all in your head? Is someone gonna tell you? Am I gonna call you every day and tell you what your numbers are? No, I'm not gonna do that. Although if you call me, I will tell you. So what data do you need? Here's the things that go into what I've mentioned. You're gonna need to know at some point or another what the membership count is in your clubs, your areas of division. If you're gonna count the number of clubs in your area or division that are distinguished, you obviously need to know how they're doing on their division, their DCP goals. Division and area info, payment info, awards is always important to everyone, and then I'll show you a couple of extras. All of this is based on the dashboard. Most of it is based on the dashboard. So step one is, when you get a chance after the meeting, go to this URL, dashboards.toastmasters.org. It's going to show you a big report with all the districts in the world. Pick out District 57, click on that one, and it'll show you a new page. It's one in blue here that's got the district in it. See the 57. Save that link, bookmark it, put it in your favorites. You're going to use that again. It'll just save you a little time. If you can just in your browser go straight to the district. Just a nice little tip that's going to help you out there. So we're going to take these one at a time. Rather than going through and telling you all the Toastmasters data that's available, we're going to be goal oriented today. We're just going to go find the report pages that tell us the things that area and division directors need to know. Now, first things first. Probably some of you saying, what are my clubs? Where are they? Who's in them? Who are the officers? Good question, because that's how you're going to arrange your business, isn't it? Now, you're going to have access to the membership roster and the club officer list for your clubs in your area or division, and that access will start in late July. Toastmasters is not able to start that on July 1, but sometime in late July, about the time they close out all the reports, you'll start having access. And in the meantime, us in the trio can help you with that. So here's how you're going to get that when it is available to you. You start from the Toastmasters homepage. You click on Leadership Central, and that gives you choice. You can go to District Central. You'll have to log in. And you click on Reports. And it's going to get a little box called the List Request box. And oh, by the way, I'll make this entire presentation available to you. So if you want to capture screens, that's cool, but I'll give you this entire presentation. Now, in that box, you can then select the club officer report or the membership report, and you click on a little export button and save the file. We're not going to go through that line by line because it's going to be about a month before you've got access to it. So just remember to come back to this and look at it. It's very straightforward. You can download both the club officers and the membership list in just a couple of minutes. Very easy. And you can do it again as often as you like. For your clubs that elect officers every 6 months, of course, you'll want to go back. And remember, just a reminder, folks, this information is for Toastmasters use only. Every great once in a while, someone in the district gets the cool idea that they've just got access to a whole bunch of emails and they're going to peddle products to them. Don't do that, please. We hate to kick you out of Toastmasters for a violation of integrity. Now let's go into some details. Remember I said the first thing you do is you go to the dashboard and you click on District 57. And now you will have a page that you're going to come back to over and over again. So let's start out by going to the club. We said the first thing we probably want to know after the membership list is the club performance. So across the top of the district dashboard, district performance, division and area performance, club performance. When you see club performance, think DCP. That's what it is. Here's the club DCP report. Pretty handy. Across the top here, you can see we're in District 57. We're in the current year. We're in current month. I took this report a couple of days ago. This will update, so you always get the latest stuff, but you can always go back and look at older dates if you want to. And there's an export button over here where if you would rather download this into a spreadsheet and do some analysis, maybe even punch in some formulas and sorting, you can do it. Here's a nifty thing, a reminder in these first 4 boxes up here, just a nice reminder for you of what the DCP goals are. Key thing to remember, as of July 1, the DCP will change. It doesn't change much, but they're eliminating the old traditional program goals because it's going away, aside from one extension for the Advanced Leader Silver and DTM. Some other minor changes, but otherwise same concept. So that's just your reminder here. And then each club has a line in this report. So you can scroll down to your division, your area, and then you can see your clubs. Now, we don't have time today to do a deep dive on this, but there's a lot of information in the DC report. 3 things that you probably think of right immediately. What's their member base? How many clubs do they how many, excuse me, how many members do they have right now? Remember, to be distinguished, you have to have 20 members or a gain of 5. So if someone started with 10, they only need 15. DCP goals met, another great simple one. But does more than that. It shows you which goals they met, how far along they are, how they're doing on membership, how they did on training, how they're doing on record keeping. All these things are there. You can tell a lot about a club. And again, don't get hung up on, oh, the DCP report is just numbers. No, the DCP report is a quick summary of how the club is doing in all 4 major areas. Yes, you need to go to the club. Yes, you need to see what's really going on. Yes, you need to verify that what's in the meeting is reflected here. But generally, there's a pretty good relationship. So this is worth getting to know and getting to understand. So we highlighted the goals. You can also use the DCP to look at just one club. Going back, whoops. So if you punch in a club number way over here on the left, it will bring up just that one club. This is very handy when you're getting ready for your club visit. One particular club visit, you can go in. Shameless plug, this is Star Search Club that some of us here are in. Kate, Supriya, Tao. Gosh, look at that. 10 goals met, President Distinguished. It'll tell you where they are right now. And again, you can use the dates up at the top to go back and see how they were doing in past years. So the second area, so that's DCP. The second area that we're going to go into is division and area. Remember we said we're going to recognize top area directors and division directors. So naturally we need to know the numbers, and naturally you are going to want to know how you're doing. And again, you're going to get some nice information from the clubs too. It's a nice reminder on this page. Again, this is the division and area report. You go to the division area tab on the district dashboard. The area goals, yes. Area goals here, this little box, and again, there's one of these for each area in the district, summarizes what you need. Remember we said you need to have 50% of your clubs distinguished. So here's how to read this. You've got a base of 5 clubs. A base means that's what you started the year with. For distinguished clubs, need to have 50% rounded up. So distinguished, that little D says distinguished, you need 3 of your clubs to be distinguished. If you're going to be select, you need 4 of your clubs to be distinguished. For presidents, you're also going to have 4. And then look at here, this is the number of paid clubs. To be distinguished, your clubs have to be, you need to have all your clubs paid, plus for presidents, you need to have 1 additional club. There's also division directors. You have your information spelled out. It's very much the same thing. And again, there's a different one of these for each division. So you can go to this page and just get a quick reminder of where you're at and what your standing is right now. There's also other information. Look here. See the little S beside San Leandro? That says this club has achieved select. These little tabs, these little marks here are going to be there starting in April and going through the end of the year. So and they'll also be there for about 3 weeks after the end of the year. So you also get quick shot. Which of my clubs in my area are distinguished presidents? Which ones need a little work? And it duplicates the membership and the club goals over on the right. So this is really a nice little handy guide to what is available, what's the information about your area and your division. Third area is payments. This is our main page. It says district performance over here. These top goals, don't go there yet, George. These top goals, this is what the district as a whole is being measured on. 3 main measures in addition to the qualifiers. Number of paid clubs. Base of 51 to be distinguished, we need 154, we have 140 now. Not too surprising, the whole pandemic thing has really thrown everything off. Number of payments, this is why we care about renewals and payments. We need to get a certain number of payments in. And the number of distinguished clubs, these are different for each district. And again, a nice summary of our clubs down here. And this is on the membership payments, where there's new charter payments and so forth. You'll look at this occasionally for payments. And when Beth and I and Julie toward the end of the year start saying, this is how many more new clubs we need, or this is how many more payments, this is where we are getting the information. Okay. Another category of reports we're going to look at. We said the things that we care about for an area director or a division director would be include things like renewals and awards. Where do we find those? In the daily reports. Here in our main district dashboard page, over on the left, there's a button called daily reports. Different kind of reports. This is our main dashboard with our district performance, division performance, club performance, even club status. Daily reports are a different kind of animal. Let's see what's in there. We're going to look at a couple of them. There are several things. I would ask all of you to go and look at these things. I'm not going to go through them now. There's a lot here. But again, let's be goal-oriented and talk about a couple of things that we know you will need as area and division directors. Numbers you will have to have. And by the way, just so you know, we'll probably have a quiz on this later in the year. So you'll want to learn these. One thing that matters a lot right now, April dues renewal status. And we'll talk about that. The second thing that we all care about regularly is awards, educational achievements. Let's look at these two one at a time. I just clicked on the April renewal status. And by the way, notice there's an October renewal status over here. So in October, we'll be looking at the same kind of information, but for, excuse me, later in here. Sorry. So here's our April dues renewal status. Excuse me. One thing though about all of the daily reports is they normally present them in club order, numerical club order. But you can change this. So we can click on any of these column headers and sort by that. So I want to see which clubs have not yet renewed dues. So I'm going to click on that renewal status, bang. Now it is sorted by the status for whether we have got the dues in. All the things that say verified complete, the club has the renewals in for this April status. We only have a few clubs wow, that do not yet have them in. You can see them right here. Now you could have clicked on the area to see all the few clubs in your area and see which ones have renewed. You could have clicked on division, see all those, but it's right here. So it's really easy to just jump in and see which ones still need something. Let's go back out to the daily report. And now let's focus on educational achievements. Awards matter to everyone. Same thing. What this is showing is quite detailed. This is showing day by day every award earned in the district, showing the club, the division, the area, the specific award, the date it was actually recorded, the member name, and the club. This is great. And again, you can click on any column. So you could, for example, click on the award report if you wanted to go down the list and find all the DTMs or all the things in presentation and mastery or anything like that. There's one thing let's point out. You're going to see in here names, you recognize some of the names there, and then you're going to see numbers. And you might look there and someone might say, well, my VPE submitted my award, but I don't see my name in the awards report. That's because members are able to opt out in their profile. They're able to opt out of having their name shown in public reports. And I've gotten a number of questions from people recently that are all upset because their name's not showing, and they go and they look at their profile, and yes, they've set their privacy to not show their name. So that right there, that name is not visible, but that is their member number. So if you have the roster for the club, the area of the division, you can go into it sorted by the member number and find out who that actually is. Now, some members are setting this and didn't really mean to. That does happen. So they can go into their profile, which you can get to from your login, and they can change it back. The same place they can change the setting for where they're going to get emails, where they can get phone calls and so forth. Some people are very concerned they don't want information. There's a few situations where people really have a personal situation. They don't want their name anywhere. Or some people are afraid that Toastmasters is going to spam them a lot. I wouldn't say so. It doesn't happen that much. Anyway, they can change it back if they don't want to. They don't have to. It's their choice. And you can always go look it up. I'll show you a couple of extras. Marshall.org. Okay, yes, this is my website. I wrote it. What I've done is to create a series of tools that summarize awards and DCP settings and a few other things. I did this after the first year I was an area director, and my impression was that Toastmasters gave me all the raw data. They gave me numbers for right now, but if I wanted things like, how's the club been doing for the last couple of years? Who all earned reports in just this one club over the last several years? Things like that, they don't do that well on it. You can get the information, but it's really hard. So we're not going to go through it. I don't want to take too much time, but let me give you a suggestion for one. So later on after the meeting, go try this one. Go to marshall.org/tmtools, and there's a menu in a big box there. Try this one. This is being very applicable for an area director. Find the DCP history. This one shows the past club performance on one screen. So whereas the dashboard will show you how the club is doing right now, and you can, with about a half a dozen clicks, go find how it was doing in the past year or year before. This is going to put everything on the same screen. So you can look at that and say, am I going to visit a club that basically is really solid, doing really well? and I just kind of need to stay in touch and be sure things are still okay? Or am I going to a club that's really been struggling in the past and I need to help them figure out the problem? So DCP history, I think you're going to find is very useful. The second one, a fun one to do, club anniversaries, is got a series of information on the clubs. One of the things it has is it combines your charter date with some other information, and you can sort it various ways. And one thing is it'll pop out for you significant anniversaries. This club is doing its 5th anniversary this year, 10th anniversary, its 20th anniversary. My home club is over 30 years now. Fantastic, yay. And there are clubs that are been around even longer than that. So as an area director, it'd be great, wouldn't it, for you to check and see how long they've been around and just give them an attaboy, congratulations on when they've been well. Additional reports, just below daily reports, has got some per area division summaries. This is actually written by a very dedicated Toastmaster, Mike Rafferty, and these reports have been incorporated into the dashboard. At that, I'm going to stop my sharing. Again, I will make this presentation available so you can refer to it later on, and I'll ask for any questions you might have. No questions, wow.
I have a question. Hi, George, what is the biggest benefit of the daily reports? Why would, it looks like it's a good tool, but I'm wondering what it's showing that would be really useful.
It's showing several things. The two I showed you, renewals and awards, are really significant. The renewals is really important as we get near dues dates, so you can immediately zero in on which clubs you need to go encourage. Awards, everyone wants to know about. Member will say, but I filed a reward, the BPE did, it's not showing, and you can see that. You can find out all kinds of things. There's an archive, educational archive. Another thing that's interesting is you're probably going to be trying to get coaches and mentors for some of your clubs, the ones that are low in membership. There is a list. One of the reports in there is a list of the clubs there that have coaches and mentors assigned. That's a great one to refer to. You won't use it frequently, but you can use it at the beginning there to see which of your clubs that are in need of a coach, for example, because they've got less than 12 members, have one assigned already. Same for the club mentors. There's several in there. There's a new clubs list that's just interesting to know how we're doing in new clubs. So the three I mentioned are the ones I think you'll probably use the most as an area director.
Perfect, thank you.
May I pop in about
Sure.
this? As an area director, division director, particularly as you approach different dates, for instance, now we're still waiting for leaders to come in and see if they're onboarded. So you can go daily and see which clubs still need to do install, to update their officer roster. As you're going for your area visit, you can go and sort by your clubs and see the awards that the clubs have already won, so that already earned, so that you can begin filling in the back end of your report or have information to ask about when you go to the club.
Thank you, Lisa. And I just put into the chat, I put a link to a one-page summary of the data you need and the place to go find it. So that's your one-page summary that you can save, put up on beside your computer.
Hey, George, my computer just died. So are we just asking for questions right now?
Okay, let's see. Okay, Jeffrey asked me a geek question. What are they written in? Perl. Let's see. Someone's using 2 computers, Elliot, and check them as they went through. Bookmark, yes. As you discover which of these reports are most useful to you, I would definitely bookmark them in your browser. You're going to be using the DCP report over and over and over again, and probably the awards report as well. Other questions? Oh no, we're not going to get done early. That wouldn't be right.
Can everyone go look at their own report and just see what it looks like? I think sometimes just looking at it will give you some ideas of other questions to ask before I start my session.
Now these tools I built because as an area director, I didn't feel I had the kind of summaries I wanted. I'm a spreadsheet nut. I'm constantly downloading and manipulating and summarizing data, and these reports represent the ones that I wanted to fiddle with the most often.
This is Lisa again. I have a comment just with regard to reports and area visits, and that is, it's sometimes helpful to look at the whole group together. For instance, I was looking at the clubs in Division H the other day, and we have 16 clubs. We have 3 that I'm not worried are going anywhere, but they're sort of stalled out. And we have 3 that are struggling. When I looked at those 3 across and started thinking about what do they have in common, one of the things that they have in common is that all 3 of them have a club president who has been club president for multiple years. So you're starting to see that there's not turnover there and therefore new energy. But so those are some of the things that you can use as anecdotal information to tell your clubs about what works, what doesn't.
Michelle says she's lost, she can't find the reports. Don't go for the dashboard, don't go to the homepage. You'll have to wait around in the Leadership Central, District Central tools to find it. Just go directly to dashboards.toastmasters.org.
George, I have a question. I'm looking at Division C, and every club under performance is listed twice. Is there a reason for that?
On which report?
This would be on club performance for Division 57. And if you go through the 3 areas, each club is listed twice.
On club performance?
Yes.
That's real odd. That's not supposed to happen.
Would
Division
that be,
C?
would that be for current and next term, maybe?
What do you mean listed twice? I don't see any clubs listed twice.
Well, maybe I have an aberration, but I'll see Napa Toastmasters Club and then Napa Toastmasters Club, Capital Speakers, then Capital Speakers. I'm seeing every club twice.
I'm looking at the exact same report. I don't see any duplications. Let's talk afterwards, or we can set up a Zoom session or something like that and go through it.
Okay.
Maybe there's something in your browser, but I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a web developer for a long time. I would say just hit refresh.
Okay.
All right, any other final questions?
I have a question. So I noticed that the district has realigned the clubs. So we're going to have different clubs under different areas. The district report I'm looking at has the current assignment of each area. So when will this be updated with the new alignment of each area?
The alignment will show up. They're going to keep the alignment we have right now until the June is closed out. Now, Ben and I and Julie can give that information offline ahead of time, but it will not show, the new alignments will not show up until they close out June on the Toastmasters website and start showing the New Year's data. So that's about 3 weeks after July 1st, typically.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense. Thanks, George.
So before we finish wrapping up George's section, I want to remind everyone that last night I sent out the DLC roster 20-21. That is a roster of everyone in our group. And then also the second tab has the full membership list. The third tab is the officer list. So those tabs have everything you need right now to reach out to presidents, to reach out to previous presidents and ask, hey, who's the new president? You can get that information today. Does everyone know what I'm talking about?
Can it be shared?
I can share it on the screen, and you have a copy of it right now.
Yeah, I meant shared with other people.
I think let's just try to keep it with an area director and division director and maybe your chairs. But it does have emails and phone numbers, so it's not good to share it with just, you know, the average person, if that helps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, George, anything else?
I just put in the chat the entire presentation. I'll also email it for people that don't want to save it out of the chat box, but it's in the chat right now. You can save it out of the chat.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and reclaim host, George. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. Great job, George. Very engaging. Looks like it was very helpful for everybody. Yes, and I am only sending this information to current area directors and division directors. All right. Thank you, George. And now I'm going to be talking about teams. So the question is, why have a team? Like, what's the point of having a team, right? Because, I mean, who thinks like you could just do it yourself, right? All right, I want to use a little reactions to see if this rings true for you. If it has to be done, I've got to do it. I want to see the reactions. Anybody feel like that's them? If it's got to be done, I've got to do it. I'm the only one who knows how to get it done right. For some reason, I'm not seeing any reactions. Is reactions working today? All right, maybe it's not working right now. Or maybe no one feels like that. Ah, there we go. Now I'm starting to see. Okay, Donica. All right, I see it. Dana, don't be shy. I think there's a need to get things right? There's that desire to make things happen and to make sure things are done properly. It's a good desire. I think it's admirable. Okay, so we only have like 2 people on the whole call today who have this control desire to make sure that everything is always right. So that's good. I guess I probably don't have to go over my topic then. All right, so I will anyways. So why do you have to have a team? Having a team is there's a few reasons. Number one is you can do more than you ever thought you could imagine when you have a team. And the second one is you build lifelong friendships and relationships. I know that I look back on the last 2 years, Kevin and I are really good friends. Diane and I are really good friends. Like, you build these relationships when you have a team that is just lifelong. And it helps you make a difference in the lives that you get to serve. When you ask someone to help you, they grow because now they have an opportunity to learn and grow. And the fourth most important reason is it helps you find your successor. Now, I am so happy that there are so many people here today who are finding their successor already. They're having a shadow, an assistant. Now, this is really important because that means our organization is going to be better than when you got here. It's critical to leave an organization better than when you found it. And if you come in, just do the job yourself, and then leave without finding a successor and mentoring that person, that means that the organization actually gets a little bit less good when you leave, even if you did good work. But when you find a successor, that means that you're setting up them for success because now they can grow from what you've taught them. Like, I would say Kevin and Diane are a great example. Kevin was watching Diane, she was mentoring him, and in the whole year, when he came in, he was ready and he was able to build on top of that. And he was able to build on top of that success. Then I've been being mentored and growing. And so now I'm coming in and learning from that. So it's each of us has a lot to contribute. And then we're able to mentor the next person and they're going to do even better. And that ability makes the organization grow and get better and better. So that's the reasons to have a team. You can do more, you can build friendships. It makes a difference in their lives because they're growing, and you can find a successor. All right. So I think another important question as an area director, or division director, why do I need, what is the team going to do for me? I'm going to a club visit. I don't get that. What's the big deal? Okay. So club visits are an actual thing that you have to do. Sometimes you have a problem, right? You may have a thing go on in your life and you need help. You need someone to go do that visit for you because you really can't make it. I think with the virtual, it may not actually happen, but sometimes people have a scheduling issue. I know Lisa brought up a few reasons. So if you have a buddy who can help you, then they can help you with a visit if you need that. So that's just 101. It's an option and you can really use that help. The next thing that's really important is training. We are going to have a huge TLI, and I want everyone to get involved in some way, as some kind of volunteer, or do something that can contribute. And also, you want to bring more people. So bring some more people in to help with the TLI. Lisa is looking for cheat trainers and facilitators. We're gonna have a ton of technical hosts. So if you want to get involved or bring other people along, this is a chance to help with training. Then don't forget about makeup training. So we're planning to have about 500 people on each of our virtual TLIs, but there's always going to be the person who can't make it for some reason. So this is where you can step up and actually be a person who can help with makeup training and pull together other people to help you with makeup training. You don't have to do it by yourself. So you'll need trainers and facilitators and technical hosts. So those are the people that you want on your team. All right, so we talked about club visits and makeup training, lots of fun. The next thing that you're gonna need help with is running your area contests. This is your event. You're gonna have to run the whole thing, but you can't do it alone. You need a team. There's about 15 people that help run a contest. And we had a great moment earlier with Lisa where everyone who's really good at running contests turn on their camera. So you need 15 people. You have to recruit all those people. So start early and make sure that they're well trained and ready to go so you can have a fair and fun contest. And you don't forget you have to bring in all the speakers. And that's another way to help build the team and bring those contestants in to participate so that it's a really fun contest. All right, finally, I know that if you feel overwhelmed already, like have to do visits, I have to do contests, all these things going on. When I was area director, I had social events. And this was back 10 or more years ago. And we had 2 contests, fall and spring. Now you guys only have 1, so that's wonderful. But we, on top of all those things, had social events. And we ran a debate night and we ran speechathons. Now, I know a few people are starting to get into speechathons, but if you plan early, you can actually have these events planned on your schedule for the year. And we're gonna have 30, 60, 90-day planning later. So let me tell you about the debate night. We had people come in and pick a topic like, why should you read? And someone would take like, you shouldn't read. It's a waste of time. All those books are old. And then we had someone else like, oh, your mind can be expanded. You can live in a different person's world. So we had these little debates. They were only 2 to 3 minutes each, and each person got to come up and say something. It was a great way to build membership. It was super fun. And now with virtual, these kind of events are really easy to schedule, and you just need to plan. But you need to have a team that can help you plan those kind of fun things. So if you have a team to help you run these extra events, your assistant can even help you with this. And they really build camaraderie and growth and community. All right, so I've talked about how, like, why you need a team. What is the team gonna do? Let's talk about how to build a team. How does it happen? You guys are all sold now, but how does it happen? So this is the hard part. Okay, first of all, you have to, as a leader, you have to strategically plan what is it that you want to do. And we're going to have time for you to, hopefully everyone's making a few notes on what kind of events you want to run this year. One other thing we talked about is division council or area councils. So the area council is a time when you bring your presidents and a few key officers. And I mean, you could have all the officers, you could just have a vice president membership, VPE and president, and together you make a council. And these are such important events. At these virtual, or not virtual, but councils, area councils, what you're going to be doing is letting the presidents create a relationship amongst themselves. This is a time where they can share their struggles, give each other advice, and plan fun events. It's just, I think it's such an incredible, important thing. And the problem is that if you don't plan those up front, the year is going to go by and you'll never have gotten around to it. So when you get to your 30, 60, 90-day planning period with Ed, make sure that you take the time to figure out, look at your calendar. When can you run this just sort of like informal, or maybe you can have a really good structure, whatever you want to do, you're the leader of the group. So these councils are going to help you learn. It's going to help you make the relationship and also build a relationship between the clubs. And then this will help you with planning your contests, because now you've pulled these people in. You can say, hey, can you guys help me run my contest? Can you help me with makeup training? What are topics that you want to make sure we cover in training? How can you get that one sergeant at arms that doesn't want to come to training? Is there ways to come around and solve that problem? So how do you build a team? You build your I keep wanting to say virtual, your area council. So now let's think about like actually leadership. How do you build a team itself? You have to think of the roles. So you think of all these different events that you have, and you come up with roles like titles. And people have different fun, creative ideas. You could have a club extension chair that is just part of your area. You can have a makeup training chair. You have a contest chair, right? So come up with a title. And then once you have the title, we actually have a bunch of job descriptions in that DLC spreadsheet that I shared. And there's job descriptions. So you can go in there and copy the job description and modify it and have that with you when you go to make the ask, which we'll be talking about in a moment. Next, who are you asking, right? Once you have these roles, who are you asking? Well, we have that whole membership directory there for you. You can go through that membership directory, ping people who are in your club and ask them. And I recommend socializing. I know it's really tough right now, but find ways to get out there and meet people. This area council is a great way. You can always ask your presidents who's interested in learning more and doing more interesting things in the district. Running these events and meeting people is a great way for you to build that list, your own personal Rolodex. Does anyone remember Rolodexes? Your own personal Rolodex of people that you can ask. And then finally, you have to make the ask. All right, I'm going to do a poll right now and I'm going to launch this. And so the question is, why don't you make an ask? And if you think like, oh yes, I always make the ask, it's not a big deal, you can put that answer in. But like, what challenges do you face when you need to make the ask? All right, I'm going to launch this poll. And let me know when you guys see it. Is it up?
Yes.
All right. All right. Interesting. All right, so we're at 35 of 51, 36, 37. I love these polls, they're so fun. $39. Did I leave any options off? Was there another option that people are like, oh, I just can't find the right option because it's not on here?
They're in the chat.
They're in the chat? Okay, let me go look at the chat. My reason isn't there, Chuck says. All right, turn on your camera and tell us the reasons. No one says yes when I do ask.
Well,
All right.
I think it's different for everybody, but I picked the last choice, and I'm not quite sure. I think sometimes it's just a matter of matching the right person for the right need. It's complicated. So frankly, I think there could have been a couple more options on your list, but I picked the final one, which if that helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, thanks. Could you explain, by the way, how you set up that poll? That's a very cool thing.
Advanced secrets of running Zoom. You have to be the host. The secret is you have to be the host. All right, thank you, Chuck. Anyone else want to share what was their answer that wasn't on the list?
Well, mine's Philip here.
Right, go
I've got a combination of two of them. It was, if I don't ask it right, then I get the fear of being rejected. So I may not know what to ask in the first place to even be accepted. So it's my fear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real thing. All right. How about Brooke? You want to add something?
Yeah, I like Donica kind of added it in the chat where oftentimes I feel that people are so busy that I don't want to ask them where I'm like, oh, I'll just get it done myself because I know other people have so much going on that how could they have the time when I don't feel I have the time to begin with.
Right, right. These are all the fears that we all face, everyone. These are, nothing so far is completely unrelatable. Very relatable. Okay, anyone else have one that didn't make it on my list?
Yep, I do. Jeff Young, Area R33. I mentioned yesterday that I have a lot of trouble getting people to volunteer to be officers. If we can ask for an entire month and a half, who wants to be a president, who wants to be this? And everyone's like, nope, not me, don't want to do it. And we finally have to just kind of say, hey, listen, you haven't done it yet, do this, and we'll be there to help you. But for the most part, people aren't really interested in being officers, and that's kind of, they want to be there for the club and to give speeches, but they're not really leadership type people. And I want to respect that.
All right, this is amazing. Thank you, Jeff, for adding that. Okay, final call. Anyone else have a challenge, like reasons why you don't make the ask? Last call, last call. All right, now we had 16 people who say, I always make the ask. JC, do you want to add something? You're on mute, JC. Let me unmute you. Okay, there you go.
Yes, I do. I'm one of the types that always ask because partly because of my background. I always leverage what I don't have, somebody else has. So I don't have to go to a university to learn something when Beth has it. So it's very easy for me to come and ask you, Beth. That's my take on that.
All right. I want to start tapping into, JC, you're the first one. I want to start tapping into the people who are just like, I always make the ask. We have 16 of them. I want you to turn on your videos and just tell us some of the secrets. How did you overcome? Did you overcome one of these ones that were on the list? Okay, I see Michelle first. Michelle, share some wisdom with us.
Well, what happened to me is that there's just too much to get done. So if I don't make the ask, I don't get the stuff done. So I do ask, but you know, like some people have mentioned, that you don't always get the people who are willing to help. I try to ask people based on who I think can do it. And then I go to them and I acknowledge what they have to offer, and explain to them why that would be something they want to do. And that's usually I get a better result. But if I don't know who I can ask, then that's what holds me back. I like the idea of the area council and then asking my presidents to come up with a list of people.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. And I feel like everyone's got a slightly different approach. So I want to hear people's different ways of doing this. And I just shared the results. I realized that I was only looking at it and I didn't share. So 16 people right now have secrets, wisdom on how to make the ask. So I saw Cynthia next. So thank you, Michelle. Cynthia, how do you go about making the ask? And tell us a little bit like how you learned that.
I learned it over time and by making mistakes. And what I do is I make it an opportunity for them. And so even as to becoming a member, I get people thanking me for the opportunity, like in the speech craft that we have coming up. We have people that have been wanting to do Toastmasters forever, and they're excited about it and happy that I followed up with them. So I always look at the win-win situation. I know what's in it for me ahead of time, okay? But then I need to look at what is it in it for this person? How is this person going to say yes? What need am I going to meet for them? And when I do that, people say yes much more frequently. And so I look at the win-win, what's in it for them. Mm-hmm. Then I look at how can I make this an easy yes? Now, if you're wanting to ask someone for 80 hours a week, it's not going to work. And it may feel like that if you want me to be the sergeant at arms. That's so terrifying to some people. Right. But you have to break it down. It's about what's in it for them and what part can they do. And that's one reason why at Heart to Heart, we have shadow officers, which are a part of our committees. And that really helps people say, oh, I can do that piece. Or when they become a shadow officer, then they realize, oh, this is really cool. And I could do so much more in this way. And it helps me in this way. And then they grow into the officer roles.
This is amazing, Cynthia. I think you just said so many good points. I hope everyone was taking notes. And this whole thing is recorded so people can come back and watch this section again. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Wonderful. Look for the win-win. Now, what's in it for them? Break it down. These are bits of gold here falling out. I want to
state light work.
I want to get a few more people in, and I'm going to ask Julie to go ahead and time so we can get as many people as we can. We had 16 people with wisdom here. Let's go to Ashley Harkness next, who had his thing on. And Julie, can you just give us a red sign at the 1 minute mark, just to make sure?
Thank you, Bet. Once when I was one of the district officers, I needed some help from a club to run a part of a conference. So I went to the club and I stood up and said, I need your help. I can't do this by myself. I came to you because I know you can do it and I need you to do it. And one of the members turned to another one and said, he's actually asking us something. And at that point, they all stood up and volunteered. Of course, afterwards, they promised they would never do that again, but they did it that time. All you have to do is stand up there, and it's like Linda Patton writes in the chat. If you're afraid of being rejected, get over it. It's time to grow up and get on and do it, because that's how it works. And people want to be asked. Thanks, that's enough for me.
Yay, okay, the next person I saw was Dennis. I'm just gonna go by who I see first.
I learned early on in computer training, if I try to go in there and be the expert, then everybody's going to learn what I know, but newbies would show me something I had never seen before. So the basic idea is if you go in and you tell 10 people your idea, you've shared one idea. If you listen to 10 ideas from 10 people, not only have they all benefited from their ideas, you've got 10 new ideas to take to the next task. So I always delegate, let other people agree on what needs to be done, and let them surprise me on how they get it done rather than telling them what to do. And that has always worked for me.
Thank you, Dennis. Wonderful. All right, the next person I saw was Robin.
Good morning. What I do before I ask, I observe the person, I get to know them, I see their strengths and their weaknesses, and then I try to prep them along the way, not just at the last 2 months, but try to prep them. Maybe, have you thought about XYZ position? I see that you are, or let's say it's the Sergeant of Arms. I see you come early to all the meetings. You're here before it even starts. Have you thought about becoming the Sergeant at Arms? So as if I know the person. If I don't, like trying to get the area directors, I try to look at the clubs, the DCP, and see what clubs are doing well. And then from that, I try to contact the presidents, VPEs. And then I send out information about what it is the area director does or what it is the assistant director does. And they answer their questions. And that was it. That's how I do my ask.
Robin, thank you so much. I liked how you had both for if you know them and if you don't know them. Very cool. All right, let's try to get through as many more as we can. Linda, I think you were next, and then we'll go to Chuck.
I always believed that team stood for totally everything is always a mess. I never really liked teams, but I learned that I can't do it all. And what I wanted to find was that person who completed me, who could do things that I couldn't do, and that they would shine in, and that they would be the very, very, very best. And Robin, I love the fact too that you get recommendations from people. So if the person says, no, I can't do it, I'm too busy or whatever, then ask for a recommendation. Then who do you know who would be perfect for this position, and ask them. And you've got then that referral, which I think is also key in getting people to say yes.
Okay, it's always important to ask, and if you can't do it, can someone else? So
right.
It's a second ask. All right, I'm gonna have only 2 more people, and then I have some more stuff about how to manage a team. So Chuck and then Regina.
Just quickly, I hope this is relevant. I have noticed one phenomenon when you're asking for help, and you might relate to this when you're filling roles at the end of a meeting. If we just say, who wants to be Toastmaster, who wants to do this, addressing 10 or 15 people, you quite often don't get responses. But if you ask specific people, call them out, 90% of the time they say, yes, I'll do it. So I find it's always better to ask specific people rather than a general crowd. The results seem to come in much stronger. So I think that might apply for any task if you go to individuals rather than the whole group.
Yes, Chuck, my husband was an area director the year before last, and he would send emails out to everyone just like, I need a contest chair, I need some judges, and no one would say anything. And then he finally got one person to be the contest chair, and then they would specifically ask people. And that is really the only way, because there's very few people who are just like, oh, I wasn't doing anything. I guess I'll respond to that email and just say yes to that.
Right.
It's just very rare. Thank you, Chuck. All right, let's go to Regina.
Usually when I'm trying to handle a task, I don't start off with I start off with we. And it also depends on who I'm posing the question to or the statement. So if it's an individual that I've worked with before or I observe, then I already know that it's a good chance they're going to say yes because they've already participated in different things in the club. So that's one start. But if it's a person that I have never worked with before or a group, I try to make it more like goal setting, that this is going to support all of us, whatever that goal may be. Because for myself personally, I would say yes if there's a goal that I'm interested in. It's not necessarily the person who's posing a question to me or seeking help, but the goal in general. So that's how I say, that's how I just ask. It depends.
This is so great. And Regina, you have made a great segue into my final point. Thank you very much, Julie. So my final point on this whole, how do you build an amazing team and get a lot of great things done, is how to manage a team. So now you've got somebody, you've got them, they're on board, you've told them their job description. Now let's talk about details on how exactly you manage the team. Number one, you need to find their goals. So that's exactly what Regina said. What are their goals? If you need someone to help with being the treasurer or a finance manager role, and they want to become a marketing expert, this may be a mismatch, right? So you want to find out what their goals are and make sure the tasks you're giving them match up with their goal. Next up, you want to find out, you want to set expectations. Let's see if we can do a little quick show of hands. Who loves getting a task with no clear expectations or time commitments or even knowing what they're supposed to do? Anybody? Anyone just love that? Oh man, I don't see anybody. You know what? I hate when I get asked to do something and I don't even know what I'm supposed to do because it makes me stressed out. I get up, I stay up all night worrying, am I doing the right thing? I don't even know what am I supposed to be doing? So don't do that to someone else. Give them clear expectations, clear commitments on what you need. What's the measure of success look like? What does this look like when it's done? So make sure that you give your members of your team exactly what they need to do. People love that. They don't get mad when you tell them exactly what to do. They get happy because now they know what done looks like. Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. And one more time, follow up. Everyone is so busy. Your task is not the number one thing on their list. When they wake up in the morning, they're probably not saying, like, I wonder what Bet wants me to do today. They have their own lives. So you need to remind them and follow up and say, hey, how's everything going? People have all kinds of things going on in their lives. And when you ask them, I gave you that task a few weeks ago. How's it going? Oh, yes, your cat is very ill and your house is under repair and you just lost your job. I mean, who knows what's going on? But making the follow-up is really critical. If you think that you send an email to someone and now they're going to do it without any more follow-up, you are not leading. That is just, it's not how it works. All right, so now when they achieve the thing, you need to celebrate. We all are going to celebrate achievement all year long. Make sure you write them a thank you note, call them and say, thank you so much, this is perfect, or whatever, feedback if they need some feedback on it. But make sure you celebrate achievement. It's really critical. If you do not say thank you to them, they're never going to help you again. And that's going to feed back into your fear of rejection. Maybe it's because you didn't thank them the last time. Next, help them achieve their goals. What can you give them? How can you give back as a reward for just being so thankful on how much they helped you? It's reciprocal. It's win-win. I like the win-win-win. How can you help them? How can they help you? All right, so today I talked about why you need to build a team. You cannot do everything by yourself. As an area director, you need a team. You need to set up your area council with your presidents. You need to set up your calendar with all the events you're going to be doing. Write those job descriptions. Get your team. Make the ask. I am so thankful. You guys are full of wisdom today. Wonderful. I hope everyone was taking lots of notes. This is recorded. Come back and watch this section again to get more ideas on how to make the ask. And just try. Don't try to be perfect the first time. Everything, you're going to learn. You're going to grow and you're going to learn. And when we do all this, we're going to have a wonderful year and you're going to find a successor who you can mentor, and that person will grow this district even better, and you'll leave the organization better than you found it. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ed. Ed Cullen is now going to be talking about the overview of the year. Ed Cullen. Now, Ed, do you want me to share something or do you want to become the host and share your screen?
I can make me the host and I'll share my screen.
All right, Ed. With much power comes much responsibility. Take it away. And now I'd like to introduce our Public Relations Manager, Ed Cullen. Please welcome Ed Cullen.
Thank you very much, Bet. The place to find the district's calendar is to go to d57tm.org, going from the left, home, about us, and calendar, and a nice drop down, which will allow you to request something to go on the calendar. Well, what's going to be there this year? 10 district executive committee meetings, very important, a place where you can gather together and hear other people solving your issues, a place where you can meet people who will be your contest judges, your various and sundry, your target speakers. Go to the district executive committee meetings and network, as we've done, as we did last night. What did we do those other 2 months? Well, we have business meetings. We had a virtual district council meeting on September 23rd, 2019. We were ahead of the curve. That's before COVID. And will our business meetings be virtual? Well, my crystal ball is upside down and backwards. I don't know if the next 2 business meetings will be virtual. The next one will probably be virtual. And what do we do at a district council meeting? We vote on various and sundry issues that are important. Come to DECM, hear about those issues. Spread those issues with your presidents and VPEs. There is no proxies in a virtual meeting, so you need to encourage people to show up at those business meetings so we have a quorum. What else are we going to do this year? Well, TLI is a favorite thing of mine. There will be a TLI in about a month, July 18th, and one in August the 15th. Use that drop down to fill in makeups. If you're a division director and you know that the 18th of July or the 15th of August isn't going to meet all the need you have, create makeup training. Have people train, get trainers from your friends at DECM. There'll be an awards and installation next month. There'll be an international speech contest this year. So area, division, district, and then Paris. We probably won't put that on the calendar in 2020, 2021, but if you're an area director, you want to put your area contest on the calendar. If you're a division director, you want to put your division contest on the calendar. We will have the district contest on calendar. Again, my crystal ball is cloudy, but we may have another virtual conference, or we may not. I don't know. I will follow the lead. Oh, where's my screen sharing? If you click here, you can add an item to the district calendar.
And I don't see your screen share. Does anyone else see it?
I think I'm having an issue with my screen sharing. Can I just have you take this back? My slides aren't showing up.
Mm-hmm. Did you click share screen? Click share screen.
I thought I did. Let's.
It looks like at the top it's still showing the poll results.
Yeah, you have to unshare the last person.
I don't want to stop the recording. That's very important. Okay, I've stopped sharing. Relaunch poll. Oh dear. Cancel.
Do you have multiple screens, Ed?
Not at the moment. Eesh.
Uh,
Can,
I think you made George the host. He might know who's sharing, whose stuff is up there last.
I have a polling button.
Ed, are your slides updated? Do you want me to just share your slides for you?
Let me just get out of here. Oh, here we go. Share. No. Sorry. Can you see my screen?
No.
Oh, I'm very, very sorry.
Sometimes you have to click what you want us to see.
Yes, no, I get that. I've got the poll down here. Eesh.
So Ed, do you want me to just share something and you can just tell me where to click?
Sure, just go back to the regular presentation and just click on the slide where I come in.
Okay, because when I look at your slides, I only see things in the speaker notes. Is that what you want me to share?
You can share that. I had pieces of the calendar. I was going through the calendar thing.
Well, yeah, we couldn't see that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very, very sorry. Well, this is fine.
Okay.
And it gives a nice summary of the various and sundry things I was talking about. Other people have talked about club visits. I would say don't think of them as November and May. Think of them as October and April. Visit your clubs often and get them in early. 10 district executive committee meetings, 2 business meetings, TLIs, which I talked about. There will be January TLIs and January makeup trainings going probably through February. There will be Train the Trainer, which is getting people from speaker to trainer. Many, many master classes. And basically, that is the overview, the high-level overview. And the thing you need to take away from this is how easy it is to get your item on our district calendar and getting the people you talk to as an area director to go to d57tm.org to see all the wonderful things that District 57 is doing. How much added value we will get in this year. Now I've lost my time.
You're fine, Ed. Do you want me to share how to submit a calendar item?
Yes, please.
All right. So you click on this event form and there's best practices. You want me to click on that?
Yes, please.
Can you see it?
Yes, it's fabulous. You want to promote your event. You want to find volunteers. You want to track who's registered so you know what you did that made a change. Are there any questions? It's relatively straightforward.
Yeah, Ed, so what, like let's say you know your makeup training for your division is on a certain date. What is the timeline on submitting that to you through the calendar submission form? Yeah, like how early, things like that. Can you give us more details on that?
Submit it as early as you can, obviously, as early as is practical. Like everything else in Toastmasters, the tasks are being done by volunteers who have other lives. Part of their other lives may be other Toastmastery things. Everyone thinks that when they've done their part of a multi-part task, the task is done. However, you submit, and then someone from my team is going to put it on the calendar. If you don't see it in 3 days, send me an email. But it is probably not going to go up instantaneously because we don't stare at it constantly. So put the item up as quickly as possible. It should show up in 3 days or less. If it doesn't, send me an email at ed@d57tm.org. Any other questions?
Ed, can you kind of go over the handbook, like milestones for the year? Like what are all the, like when are things due? I think that was another big question people had, is just like, when is everything due? So I'm going to find it for you here and you can kind of talk us through
Super.
The calendar for the year. Like, let's see. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling so fast. Yeah.
Well, I talked about the district council meeting. There's, here it says one of the required meetings is held in person. I don't know, again, looking at my crystal ball, I don't know when or if we will have an in-person meeting, but between March 15th and June 1, the last year, I told you that the meeting was on the 23rd of September. So it was virtual. We were ahead of the game. So there will be a business meeting before the 30th of September.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably means we won't have DECM in September. And then a business meeting, which in the old days, when we all met at conference, we jammed ourselves into a room and held the business meeting as part of the conference. We did not do that this past year, and we probably will not do that next year. We will separate the two items, but it will be held between March 15th and June 1st. Ours was in April.
So Ed, the calendar, it is, we have the business meeting scheduled on September 14th.
No. Super.
Yeah, so let's talk about what is DEC, because people, maybe this is their first time coming to something like this. So can we talk about what is a DEC meeting and what are they gonna see there and what should they expect?
Well, the district council meetings, which we call DECM, are a wonderful opportunity to, as a area director, to talk to your division director, and for everyone to hear where the district is going. You'll hear a report from Bette Bohlhofer, obviously, from George Marshall, the trio, and probably some of the other people you've met on this call. Maybe me sometimes, probably the finance manager. And once again, we'll talk about how we're doing. How are we doing in terms of growing community, in terms of celebrating achievement, in terms of running gracefully? We will talk about, various people will say, you know, I went to visit my clubs and this is what happened. And the knowledge of the group will say, well, this is what we've done that's worked in that situation. So it tells you where the district is, where it's going, how close we are to achieving the goals we set for ourselves, looking at the metrics, and generally having a roaring good time. Live, you get continental breakfast and lunch. Virtually, you get more time because there isn't commute time. And look at this, we've got all sorts of nice things coming up. So,
hey Ed, the other thing that we can share right now, and this is hot off the press, is this quick view of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I just shared this with everybody. So what you can do is just kind of take a quick glance at this when you're like, oh, when is the next deck? Or when is that business meeting? So this has all of the all the dates, and we pretty much put them on here. I don't know yet if TLIs in the spring or winter time are going to be in person yet. I only have 2 because of that. So it looks like everyone's got the email now. So you can take a look at this. This doesn't have details on the times, but at least it has like a save the date. So you can sort of start planning your year. And looks like Smith is already adding something new. This is mostly for you guys just to read. And this is the district level things. If you have area council meetings and things, you wouldn't want to put them on here. This is really just for you to see when are all the decks, when are all the TLIs, when are the business meetings, when are my visits due? And remember that the system will get bogged down on the 31st. You do not want to be putting your reports in on the 31st. You want to put them in well before that.
And save your work, which is not necessarily a calendar item, but as you're putting your report in, press save because you don't want your work to disappear.
Yeah, so this is the overview of the whole year, and this is like district level sponsored events, so please don't add too many of other things, otherwise it's going to get filled all the way up. But this should help you guys know. There was a lot of questions in the survey results around, I don't know when things are due, I don't know when contests are. So club contests are in January, area contests are in February, March is division, and then we have our spring contest on May 1st at the Roundhouse, tentatively, as long as there's not another pandemic. So this is the whole year. So what kind of questions do people have on when is what due? Oh, everyone's so quiet now.
Yeah. Just unmute yourself or.
All right, Dennis.
Okay.
You mentioned that we want to do our first visit by October. I think it's really good to visit in July and do the officer induction. Is that no longer a protocol? Because it's a way you go in, you honor the officers without dictating to them anything about district policy.
I think it's a wonderful thing. And Marissa had asked earlier, when should we start visiting? And I think Lisa said start today, right? Start visiting. And I think it's great. Clubs do ask people, area directors, to do inductions. I think it's a great thing. Be as involved as you can. Try to help.
Many clubs don't know that they can have you come and do the induction. So it's usually nice to mention it to the president if they want you to do it.
I have had fun going in July to the meetings and doing a Happy New Year and having little poppers and inducting the team, thanking the outgoing and having poppers just like New Year's. It's New Year's for us. Happy New Year, everyone.
All right, I'm getting the sign from our timer today.
But it's red card.
It's red card time. All right, Ed, thank you so much for giving us the overview of the calendar. And hot off the press, that spreadsheet now is in everyone's inbox. Go check it out. And now it is time for another break. And when we come back, it's time to actually put the pedal to the metal and do our 30, 60, 90-day planning. Something Kevin has been saying a lot this year, and that is that at the beginning of the year, you do all your planning. And then after that, you just execute. No more planning after that. So we're going to come to the part of the year where we do our planning, and we'll be doing that after a 10-minute break. So let's come back at 11:05. I'll put up a slide to remind us all. Come back at 11:05 and see you guys then. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just a little bit less than an hour left to wrap up today. And I'm really excited to bring up Ed Cullen, again, our PRM, to talk about 30, 60, 90-day planning. How do we get success? How do we get it? We plan it. My daddy always used to say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Ed Cullen.
Thank you very much, Bet. As a club president, you probably...
Do you want to share your screen, Ed?
I'm going to leave the control to you, I think.
Got it.
As a club president, you probably remember the club success plan. Successful people plan, as Bet said, plan. Failure to plan is planning to fail. So successful people plan. You're entering a new job, whether it's area director or division director. And what do people do when they get a new job? Well, they try and understand the company's vision. They try and learn from the team's existing strategy, and they try to figure out how to make an impact. Lisa gave us lots of wonderful things in terms of the existing strategy. How do you do your job? George gave us wonderful things in understanding how we measure our impact. So for that first 30 days, while District Central is kicking in, you want to do a Darren LaCroix. You want to be a sponge. Focus on what you want to do. Focus on the mission, the vision, and an overarching strategy to make your area or division successful. You're going to think about learning goals, review what Lisa said, and ask questions. No one is going to tell you what to do. They're going to have you figure out what to do. But if you have a problem, there are lots of people who can help. You are never alone in Toastmasters. So if you have an issue, ask questions. Figure out the performance goals. What does it mean to be good at your job? Again, Lisa told us that, but review this recording. Initiative goals. You can send an email to all of your clubs now saying, I'm your incoming area director. Or you can, as a division director, you can poll your area directors to figure out what it is they need to do. So for these first 30 days, you're going to be a sponge. You're going to figure out what all of this means. You're going to take the We Build New Clubs and Lead All Clubs to Excellence to heart. You're going to remember the 4 core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. By the time you're 30 days in, you should have all of that. And that leads us to 60. Just be a contributor. Show up at the district executive committee meeting, which we call DECM, and say something. Learn what you're doing. Do something each week, either as we heard earlier, someone did all the work in one spot or they spread it out. Figure that out. Take initiative and check in with your personal goals. And by 90, you should be a leader. Remember what we're doing this year: growing community, celebrating achievement, running gracefully. By 90, you should be comfortable in the role. If you're not comfortable in the role, you need to ask around to get comfortable in the role. Take initiative. You're new, so your view is new and perhaps valuable for that reason. So now that we've done an overview, you've been a sponge and now you're a leader, what exactly are you going to do? By October, I would say you've turned in, if you're an area director, you've turned in your first report. You can use that report as a basis for the next report, which you're going to turn in April. You're going to do your job. You're going to come to DECM and you're going to share, because we are a community. You're going to share, you're going to learn from other people at DECM, and you're going to give your insights to people at DECM. So what exactly are you doing when you're a sponge? You're becoming a Toastmaster of a higher level. When you're a leader, what are you doing? You're giving that back. So you're working on yourself for the first 30 days, and you're giving of yourself in the 90-day period. And in the 60-day period, you're becoming more confident. So what exactly does that mean for District 57, for your area? You want to visit your clubs as often. If you're a division director, you want to talk to your area directors to find out what they're doing, what help they need. You want to, we just saw through George's report that the difference between a president's distinguished area and a select distinguished area is a new club, a net gain of 1. So as a division director, you may have a personal goal of getting a new club for every one of your area directors. That's an easy metric to see. I'm sorry. Okay. Are there any questions at this point?
Hey, Ed.
Yes.
I think something that happens to all of us is when we think about something that's happening in August or September, it could seem like such a so far away. So like, what are the things that we should be doing so that those dates don't just fly up to us and be like, oh my goodness, it's already September and I haven't done the things I wanted to do? Like, how can we get tactical about getting those things on our own personal plans?
planning and lists. Lists are a fabulous thing. And my list or Bet's list may be different than your list, but you should plan what success means, and you should make a list of things, interim steps. Not a big leap, but small steps. And so your list isn't to be to start in July 1st and be a President's Distinguished Area Director on June 30th. Your list is going to have small incremental steps. Meet your clubs. Talk to your division director. Meet your clubs again. Write your report. Submit your report. Participate in training. Participate in someone else's contests, because that's the most wonderful thing. You can be in Division E and trade with Division B, so that the people that your club see in the contest is not someone they've seen before. That trading, and all of those are small steps. Is that more or less where you wanted me to go, Bet?
Yeah, so Stacy is asking a question of an example of a list, and maybe we can pull in some outgoing area directors, incoming division directors, or people who've done area director to kind of give us a list of those. I mean, Ed, we can pull in more people. You don't have to come up with all of it. Does anyone want to share things that they had on their list or things they wanted to do and never got a chance? I see Winnie coming on.
Okay.
Hi everyone. I would like to share what I have done related to a checklist for myself. What I have done in the past is like I try to schedule, because not always you can be able to get in touch and get everyone to be committed for your club visits, for the first club visit and second club visit. So on my checklist, I try to put my schedule on the checklist for July, August would be for first club visit. In September, I try to remind the club members to pay the dues and open houses. And then in October, I started to put all my reports together. In December, I started to schedule my second visit. So I would get everything done in January. And then in January, another additional role I would like to do would be try to contact all the clubs and ask them to do the club contest. And then so prepare for the area contest in February. Then in March, I would start to remind the clubs, to have the member dues, to be submitted in March. Then in April, I will start to put my reports together. So that would, you put all your entire year's checklist together, starting to plan on that now, just like Ed mentioned earlier. So that will make your life much easier for the entire year. And so by the end of April, you're almost done. This is my learning experience to share with everybody. Thank you.
I couldn't have said it better. Is there anyone else who wants to share?
So one question here regarding new clubs. How do you actually go about starting a new club? Or more specifically, how do you sense that there is an opportunity to start a new club? What are those indicators? How do you find out the information?
Bet, do you want to do a duet or?
Julie, club.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I didn't have, so I was just questioning. I think Julie is club growth.
Yeah, does Julie want to share?
Yeah.
Hey, Julie, you're mute. You're saying amazing things. I can tell you're very dynamic. Your face is very expressive, but we can't hear you.
Okay, who had that on their bingo card? Unmute microphone. Okay, on my 30, 60, 90-day plan, there is a plan for a workshop on starting new clubs. I do not have that ready today, however.
Sure, we'll wait for that then.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Wade, Dr. Wade is also raising his hand. He wants to share something.
Great.
Thank you, but I would like to go in hindsight and say, talk about what I wish I had done relative to speech contests. I wish I had, in September, just contacted all of my clubs and started talking about speech contests. I regret that 2 of my clubs did not participate. And I would try to get what how anxious they were in doing that and offer to give a speech to these clubs as to the advantages of to the member and to the club of having a speech contest. And so then by October, I would have emphasized to them the need of having a speech contest in January, so they needed to sort of identify people who were going to speak by December. And also I would get a date and a venue for the speech contest by December, which I did, and I tried to put it on the district calendar, but I didn't follow up on that, so it didn't get on the district calendar. So those are the things that I would have done relative to. Also, in addition, I did too much by myself in the speech contest. So also, I would identify people who could help in the speech contest in doing various roles at the area contest. So those are the things that I would have done. And if I were to advise someone, this is the advice that I would give them.
Dr. Wade, I am so glad you called this out. And I think the thing when we start getting into leadership, we forget is that clubs take a long time to do anything because they're all volunteers in the area and the officers only meet once a month. So you need to get that contest date in front of them. I would say October, November timeframe so that they can plan that because they need to recruit all their volunteers for their club contests and you need to get volunteers. So thank you, Dr. Wade, for bringing up this subject. So get in front of your clubs and talk to them about the dates for contests. I would say October, definitely November, because December, everyone's on vacation, everyone's thinking about Christmas, no one's thinking about contests. And then that January date comes and clubs are scrambling. So thank you so much, Dr. Wade. Does anyone else want to share their checklist with us?
Yes, please.
All right, sounds like everyone's so shy. I know Lisa probably has one. Sherry might have one. How about Marissa? Yeah, go ahead, please. Yes, Lisa, you are here. You're on mute. You're on mute.
I have checklists for everything. And essentially I look at the calendar and, you know, most of us, all of us have been in Toastmasters for a long time. or sometime. And so we kind of know what's on the calendar already. And now that we're in the district council, we know that that's an additive, but we've been to contests. So just backtrack all of it. And this is, again, a great share resources. I have a checklist. I'm the contest queen. So I have a checklist for contests that goes back. If you look in the contest book, it will say 6 weeks ahead, do this. So most of the tools there are right there, but ask people to share their tools. And in fact, I would say leave a legacy in your current position so that your next successor doesn't have to start from ground up, that they can, as Beth said, build on what you've built on. Do that handoff of timelines and manuals is such a great idea.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, I would love to hear from Marissa. Marissa is so organized. Do you want to share something, a checklist or something you learned in the year?
Hi, Beth. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, this is Marissa. I learned that the adage, if you don't plan to succeed, then you plan to fail, is really true. I had so many things going on this year, and I have to say that I didn't do the best job I could have as area director. I'm a checklist person too. The one area I didn't have a checklist was in area director, partly because I came in late and I always felt like I was fumbling. So I've got a lot of lessons learned. I've got a huge amount of lessons learned because it's like every day it's like, oh my goodness, what's due tomorrow? And I was working harder instead of smarter because I didn't have the pieces in place. I got a lot of moments of success. I got a few failures, but the successes were not because I planned well or because I delegated well, but because I worked myself to death. And that's not good for me. That's not good for Toastmasters. It's not good for my clubs. So this year, I'm really determining to make sure that I get all of my checklists in place, that I know what's coming up 3 months ahead, because nobody likes a surprise. I mean, if it's a good surprise, a nice present, but nobody likes to know, oh, you've got to get this in by the end of the week. So my big learn this year was I've really got to put the effort in ahead of time at the beginning. The planning phase is critical to making sure that the rest of the year flows smoothly and we get to success all together.
Great.
Oops. How about people who have been presidents and had to deal with area directors, things that you wish they would have communicated with you? I know Tong is currently a president and she probably had a year of area directors. Like, are there things that you wish you had known earlier that you kind of have that other side of the view of the table?
Hi, Beth. Thanks, Beth. So I actually missed our area director's first visit. And it's a new president and a relatively new Toastmaster. I didn't even know there was an area director until later on when Dr. Wade contacted me about some club issues. I really appreciate that. So I finally got to meet with our area director, Dr. Wade, at the area contest. That's when I got to know him better. So he helped us with the second part of the Toastmaster year. So the thing that I wish that I have known better is to let the club earlier, have better communication with the club presidents and let them know that their area directors there to help them if they need.
That's great. Thank you. Any other presidents want to share what's it like on the other side? Some empathy here. All right, see Vivica says everything went smoothly. Yes. Oh, Carolyn, tell us.
The first time I was club president and I had an encounter with an area director, I didn't know what an area director was. I didn't know what the area director was expecting and what were they there for. So my contribution here is I would hope the area directors make that contact and really help explain to new presidents what their role is. And let me tell you why I think there was such a disconnect. I had just joined the club. And it's like, oh, we have all of these other peoples that are doing the real important roles. Therefore, you as the president, you show up and you do what's left over. So it was a lack of understanding because I was a new person into the club that caused me to have that significant disconnect. So communication about the roles with one another is very important.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. Anyone else?
Secondly,
wow. Yes.
Secondly, as an experienced president, I had requests coming from an area director who didn't know where to find information. I didn't know where to find the information. And I said, you're the area director, why are you asking me? So I'm really grateful that George did a wonderful presentation today on how to look into the DCP report and all of the data that's in that place and how we can access it.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps with the sharing of information.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Can I piggyback off that just a little bit?
Yes, finally. I was trying to
I
get.
always remember going to Oracle, and you know what they asked me to do first? They said, tell us a little bit about what an area director does. So just be ready, maybe have a slide or two or have some notes, just let them know, because they really didn't know. And I got to tell them off the fly. I'm like, well, you know what? So be a little bit more prepared to do that with all of your clubs, definitely. Thanks, Carolyn.
All right. So guys, this is now the point where you guys need to do some quiet time. So I'm gonna share a screen that has the checklist. And please we're gonna have just a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Julie, can you give me 5 minutes to have everyone sit down now, take out your own calendar and actually put things onto the calendar. So these are things that you should do. July, contact your club officers. And you can even do that today. Set up your first area council. Just, either do a doodle. Do you guys ever know what a doodle is? It's something you send out, you give a few time slots and people vote on when they want to meet. Send out a doodle. Try to find out when people can meet. Make sure everyone's going to TLI. We're going to have an incentive that I haven't broadcast yet, but if you get all of your officers trained in your area, you get a champion award, prize yet to be determined based on budget. But this is a actual award that you can get if you get every one of your officers in your whole area. Now, let me tell you, that is extremely challenging. My friend did this up in another district, and she said only one person won it. And there was a bunch of people like that were missing like 1 or 2 people. So if you want to win this award, getting every single one of your officers to training, you need to start reminding them about training now and talk about the benefits. So put that on your calendar to start sending out emails. August, you need to have your visits set up and make sure that you speak there. I know Lisa said you can speak there. I highly recommend that you speak during your visit. And then remind people to come to the business meeting. They may not even know what it is, so you may have to do some education. September, start filling out those reports. They do take time. And make sure everyone's going to business. So these are just a sample. And we're gonna have more time at each deck for you to fill out the next 30-day plan. But I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes now. Open up your calendar and actually put some dates on the calendar that you can manage yourself to. So I'm gonna have Julie, just let me know when 3 minutes from now is up, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Julie. Should play some music or something. Nice. All right, Elliot. All right, 1 more minute to make your plan. And don't forget, you can even do more planning after this meeting. Planning doesn't have to immediately end just because I say it's time. All right, I think it's all right. We have completed the 5 minutes of planning. Oh, whoa, there we go, red card. All right, Ed, do you want to do any final thoughts before we turn over to Julie?
Yes. To intertwine my previous discussion with this one, Dr. Wade talked about, oh dear. Dr. Wade talked about
contests.
The contest. If you get your area contest, put it on the calendar as soon as possible so that we don't have 2 area contests on the same day. Because people would like to go to area contests. And plan away. Back to you, Bet.
Plan away, everyone. Wise words were never more wise words were spoken. Thank you so much for helping us facilitate that session, Ed. And now for our final session, Julie will be talking about getting support, and she'll be holding a final Q&A just so everyone can ask the final questions. And then we'll be ending promptly at 12, and people can stay for a few minutes after that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Julie. Julie is our Club Growth Director. Please welcome Julie Garrett.
Thank you, Bet. And can you make me a host so I can share my screen?
Definitely. You got it.
Okay. So Between Bet, George, and Ed, they've already covered most of the resources available to you, but I want to take you a little bit more in depth into a major resource and cover a couple of frequently asked questions. And the resource I'll be using today is our D57 website. Let's pull that up here.
Again, I can't see your screen.
It's coming up right now. There we go. All right, so let's pull this up. Here we go. So the D57tm.org website is our best source of information. There's been a lot of work going into this to try to cover the questions that have been asked the most often by district officers, club officers, and members. The first section I want to take you to is the About Us. And you see we have some information on here. And one of the ones that I find the most helpful is under Our Clubs. So when you click there, most of the time the page comes up a little quicker than what it's doing today, but that is more likely my internet connection. What is great about this, say you are the Division C director and you want a little more information about your clubs in a quick format. You can go to the Toastmaster website, the dashboard, and you can get some of the same information, but let's just say you are looking specifically for charter dates, anniversaries to celebrate. You have this information right here. You can look. Napa Club chartered in 1956. It's not the oldest club in the division, however. That honor goes to Marin Toastmasters, who chartered in 1950, which means that they have a big anniversary coming up on December that you might want to celebrate with them. You can also see a map of just the district to see how the clubs are laid out. You can actually pull up the whole district map and not just the division, and you can see where all of the clubs fall in the entire district. Here we go. You can see right here, this would be a complete list and map of all of our clubs. And yes, here we go. So we have the map coming up here, which you can enlarge. You can do a full screen on that. And I promise you there are going to be little, there we go. So you can do a full screen on this if you wanted to see the entire district instead of just your division. To see where everything falls, you can filter that to show just the division, once again, on the same map. And below the map, when you go back to when you leave the full screen, you'll see a listing of all of the clubs as well. And here we go. So you can see just how large our district is, where we stretch. All the way up here, Fort Bragg, and we'll go down. You can see just how much of California our district takes up. And you might want to keep that in mind for any district events or division events, just how far your clubs are away from each other. It helps you in planning to try to get something centrally located. Okay, so we are going to go back here, and we have our list of clubs once again down here. The calendar Ed mentioned, here we go. And you also have your event submission form once again. It might take a little bit of time for that to get handled, so make sure that you do event planning as far in advance as possible. And now you can see in the calendar format, the events that are coming up. You'll be able to see the dates where no events can be had because of holidays or other reasons. It'll be listed there as to why they cannot have an event. And then you have where I hear the most questions, where I have the most questions as a club officer is on the awards and incentives. So when you get a question from one of your clubs about the incentives that are available, you can come to this page because there's a lot of them and it's very difficult to remember all of them and all of the criteria. So you can come to this page, you'll have a list of the incentives, and then you can go down, scroll down, and you'll see the complete description, what's involved, what the awards are, the requirements, timelines, all of that is right here. So it's right at your fingertips. Now, the other question that gets asked quite a bit, well, it's probably going to, the answer is probably going to change, or actually not probably, but is going to change. But for right now, the other answer we get asked a lot is, how do I get reimbursed for my expenses? And that would be right here in forms, right under financial, you'll see the voucher and instructions for reimbursement. Once again, there will be a change to that coming up, and that'll be gone over at DECM. But there are some other great forms in here. For those of you who are going to make presentation at your clubs and you want it to be informational or instructional, you can use the District 57 Toastmasters PowerPoint templates here. And those are also used for the DECM. So if you're going to put some slides together to present at DECM, you can get that template right here. Do you have a lot of other forms here? And what I recommend is take some time and go through every single menu option on this website, which we do not have time to go through today because there is a lot here. And if you can't find your answer here, then please email one of us at the trio and we'll help you. I'm going to go back to the home page here. The other form I was going to go over, Bet already did, and that was the directory. But just so we can take another look at that, because that is really important. That's another question we get asked quite often too, is how do we get a hold of other division directors, area directors, club officers, and all of that information, once again, should be on your Google Drive. Since it has been shared, it should be showing up on your homepage for Google Drive. Just click there, brings it up. But what I do want to caution is that this is a living document. So any changes you make are saved. So if you accidentally delete something and you don't remember what was there, please contact us so we can try to get that information back in there. Do not exit out of there before we try to fix it. Now I am going to stop sharing so I can see the chat box a little easier and see if we have any questions. A lot of people were here, that's great. But do we have any questions? You can unmute and turn your camera on to ask your question.
Yes, this is the final chance. We have about 6 minutes or so to ask any questions, and this is your chance to ask them. And the whole team can come on to help answer questions. George and Linda, if anyone has questions on finance.
Oh, and thank you, Donica. My screen just wasn't cooperating with me. I would have shown Eureka and Humboldt.
All right, so minutes are flying by. Wow, we must have covered everything, guys. High fives. Woo. Anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
All right, thank you.
All right. So what are the primary documents to read through to prepare that would help in transitioning into area director role? So I've got the handbooks and stuff downloaded, and I've read a couple of those things, and I was just wondering what is the most effective way to transition, what's required to lead and stuff. So maybe an acronym guide.
Guide. Yeah, the handbook is good, but it is pretty boring. I think talking to your outgoing area director is just a great thing to do, to just say, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. Talking to your division director, you know, they're well versed in everything. So that's probably the best thing versus reading a lot of manuals. Although it is very important just to read through it and just try to drink a lot of coffee so you can stay awake. It's sometimes going, I know it's probably online, but you know, maybe highlighting things or writing things in a notebook can help you engage with the material so you don't fall asleep so fast.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, sure. All right, more questions.
I have a question, Beth.
Yes.
So I'm a bit concerned about approaching a club who doesn't really need your help, where they're kind of resisting to be told that, hey, this is a deadline and all the details. So when that happens, do we have any strategy, like how to make them more acceptable for the help, or some reminders for all the deadlines?
Does Lisa want, I feel like Lisa's just trying to answer that.
Yes, yes, I think, and yes, and Ashley, I saw Ashley pop in there, is I think, again, you want to go and just introduce yourselves. And I want to say, you know, I think, I'm guessing that part of the reason there's not a lot of questions is that it feels like a lot was coming at you today. So I encourage you to do the same things that I would encourage your clubs to do, is just kind of let the dust settle a little bit and see what pops up. But you want to go in and just introduce yourselves. And then again, my strategy would be that I would ask them how things are going. Ask them to tell you about them. They're pretty good at self-assessing when they're asked. If you go in and say something like, you don't have any DCP points, or I see you have a membership issue, they're already on the defense. So if you just leave it, tell me about your club. Tell me about the culture about your club. Tell me about what works really well in the club. Is there anything else? And just let them guide you. That would be my strategy.
Can I get in there on that? I used to go around and visit clubs all over the United States when I was traveling, being a safety trainer. And I always checked the DCP to know what I was going to walk into. And then when I walked in, I was just, hey, hi, I'm a Toastmaster. Can I sit down and be with you? Now, of course, I wasn't a director at that particular point. But the idea was, you never knew when you walked into the club if they were going to go, can you give us a speech? And so I always had a non-Toastmaster speech that I could immediately give. My favorite was to talk about home fire safety. I got a lot of good stuff about that. But the deal was that you walk in as just a regular person and find out, like Lisa said, what their thinking is, and they will tell you. And what they can't tell you, you'll sense. You'll be fully informed. And then you can think about it, deciding what you're going to do next.
Thanks. Thanks, Lisa and Ashley. Those are great tips.
Someone's playing an instrument in the background. Dennis, did you want to add something or ask a question?
I just wanted to say, in my experience, when you go and visit a club, they're not going to ask about the district, the area, the division. They're going to ask about things in their club. So if you really want to prepare, you have to know your pathways back and forth so that you can answer their questions about that, and anything else about running a meeting or what the various officer roles should be doing. So really know your leadership manual, and the rest of it's going to fall into place.
Yeah, that's another part of it too. We really have to be agile in being able to answer pathways questions. There's still a bunch of clubs out there, a lot of people who they hold up their hand, oh, I don't want to hear about that. And yet we know that in just a very few days, there's no alternative. And we can't allow Toastmasters to die because we're afraid to talk about something we're not certain about. I was not a pathways presenter. And this last year, that's about all I got called and asked to do when I visited clubs. And now, hey, I think this is lots of fun. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have one more quick question, and then I'm going to do a few final thoughts. Thank you, Julie, for helping us with the resources and facilitating this last little bit here. So Supriya, please go ahead, and then I'm going to do a little wrap up.
Okay, thanks, Beth. So my question is, we have to start visiting our clubs, right? Before that, we have to talk with the, contact the club officers. So when we contact the club officers, do we have to contact only the president or the VP or all of the officers? So that's my question.
Mm-hmm.
All of the 7 officers.
Does anyone want to share an answer to that? Yeah, George.
It's very pragmatic. You have no way of knowing which officer in the clubs, which officers are going to be the one that respond to emails, that respond to phone calls, that respond to text. So I would say the best practice here is send your message to all 7 officers, assume they have 7, and then you can see who responds to it and go on from there. If you only send it to the president or only the VPE, you may be surprised. That person may be off on vacation or may be the 1 out of 100 that just doesn't do email. So if you, as a pragmatic matter, just send it to all the officers.
Awesome. Thank you all. Now, I am so excited about this year. And one thing I said in the beginning, when we become a leader, we do not know what's going to happen. We do not know. So we have to stay humble, keep our ear to the ground, listen, ask for help. And one big thing that I kept hearing at the end of this past year was that your energy is contagious. Your attitude is contagious. So you have to start with yourself. Make sure that you have the energy when you go to a meeting. Make sure that you're centered, that you're not frizzled. So take some time for yourself. Take care, do your exercise, eat right, sleep, all those things. Leaders have to do that because when we come to these things, the energy is contagious. And if we come in like, oh, another bad day, people are going to get that and it's going to get propagated. So focus on yourself first, make sure you're healthy, get enough sleep, and then come in with a great attitude, energy, a positive spirit, because that's the thing that you're going to bring to the team. You are the change. Be the change you want to see in the world. Find your voice and make a difference. I'm very proud of this year. Who knows what's going to happen? Anything could happen. But if we're here together in a humble way, we can grow community. We can celebrate achievement, and we can run with grace. Having grace. At the end of the year, if we aren't a little bit more gray, if we haven't got more wrinkles from stress, that would be a great thing. Make some new friends. Leave this organization better than we found it. So thank you all for coming to the district leadership training today. I can't wait to work with you all this year. Thank you all very much. I'm going to stop the recording now. Actually, Julie has to stop it because she's the host.
Thank you, Beth. Awesome training. Loved it.
Thank you.